What's going on? This is Russ Attitude, and today we are speaking with Mr. Mark Slaughter. Thanks for tuning in, and here is the interview with Mark. Anyway, cool. All right.
Cool.
So did you hear about that portal in New York City and Ireland that opened up like last week?
No.
And basically, you stand in front of it, and you can see real time like what's going on in front of that camera in New York, and you can see what's going on in Ireland. And apparently these OnlyFans people went in front of it and flashed their titties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that what that was about?
Yeah, and then they shut it down they shut it down right now. They got to figure out how they can do it because people were flipping off the bird and all kinds of stuff. So they got to figure out a way to make it so they safe, I guess.
I got you. I saw a headline. I didn't click on it. But I saw where some chick flashed the camera or something like that. So I guess that's what it was about. But no, I didn't get a chance to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it just opened up like 10 days ago. They shut it down, I guess, Tuesday at like 5 o'clock or something. I just don't see what the purpose of that is, I guess, in my eyes. I mean, is it an art project? I don't know, or something, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to
I wonder how much that cost, too, because, I mean, it was a huge fucking screen.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep. So what's new with you, man? Just been
playing music.
Yeah. How's the band doing?
Doing good. Writing new tunes. Hopefully recording some new tunes sometime here in the near future.
What's this going on? 5 years now? 4 years? 4 years, I guess.
Yeah, probably 4 years.
Yeah.
It's weird because it doesn't feel like it. It only feels like it's been a couple of years, but I think if you like really break it down, I don't remember exactly what year it started.
I mean, was it pre-pandemic?
It was pre-pandemic, and then like the pandemic kind of put a whammy on us, kind of killed our momentum there for a little bit, and then once we were able to start getting back together, we started practicing again and started playing shows after that.
At that point, I mean, during the pandemic, did you have a full band by that point?
Before the pandemic? Yeah, we did. We started off with just myself, Jason Payne, Charles on bass. We did a 3-piece thing for a while just so we could kind of write some music, kind of figure out exactly what we were doing, what direction we were going in. And then once we kind of got a solid bass going, that's when we brought in Mark Traylor.
Yeah, cool.
We brought him in and so we could have a second guitar going.
You guys just been rocking and rolling ever since, huh?
Rocking and rolling, man, non-stop.
Yeah, I've seen a few shows there.
Yeah,
pretty good stuff, man. I enjoy it. Every time I see it up there, I'm like, all right, cool. Oh, Payne back down the drums.
Yep.
Yeah. He's a natural back there.
Yeah, Payne and I have been doing it for a long time.
I mean, not that long. You guys aren't that old. I mean, you've been playing music together for what? High school days?
Since the high school days, yep.
How many bands have you been in with him?
Oh my gosh. I would say at least maybe like 6 or 7 or something. Like,
wow.
A couple of them were high school bands that really didn't do anything. But as far as like bands that were actually out there like playing shows, probably just 4.
Did you guys ever have a band that remember when you were like young, you would be like, yeah, man, we're in a band, but you guys never had any songs, you never practiced, you just had the name and you guys hung out? That was
pre Jason Payne. I had I was either like a freshman or a sophomore or something. I've been taking guitar lessons, and guitar came really natural to me. So I was ready to hit it, dude. I was like, I'm ready to get a band going. So I met up with a couple other cats. A dude named Adam West who went to Northeast. He could shred. So it was like him and I, and one of my real close friends, Jason Spinogens. We call him Sponge. He played bass. He had a bass. And our good buddy Dave Sullivan was going to be our vocalist.
Shout out to Dave.
Shout out to Dave. Dave could already draw back then, so he drew us a logo, and it was basically a Slayer ripoff. It was like a skull with a military helmet, and he came up with a name. It was like passive aggression. And we were like, what does that mean? He's like, oh, it sounds cool. It's got aggression in it, you know. And yeah, he drew up a logo, and we got this kid to play drums. Little did we know, he didn't even have a drum set.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I play drums. And so we would like arrange practice at Adam's house. And we did this for like, I don't know, several weeks. We'd meet at Adam's house like a Saturday or Sunday. Back then, none of us drove, so you have to have your parents drop you off and shit with your amps. We're like, where's this dude at, man? You know, where's the drums? And he never would show. And then I would see him at school the following week. And I'd be like, yo, where was you at, man? He's like, oh, dude, man, my uncle has my drum set at his house. I couldn't get a hold of him. So that went on for a couple of weeks or a month or so. And then I had a mutual friend with this kid, and the guy was like, hey, you know he can't play drums, right? He's like, he don't even have a drum set. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, that drum set's his uncle's, and his uncle lets him, screw around on it every now and then. He's like, there ain't no way he's going to let him take it to no band practice or nothing. So that killed that band, because back then trying to find a drummer, dude, was just hardly nobody played drums, I
mean, I'm sure it's still like that today.
It's like that today, right? And so you got passive aggression, never got off the ground.
Well, I had a band, and I never had a drum set either. I said I played the drums. I went and brought drumsticks and shit, and we all talked about it. We're like, yeah, we're gonna do this song and this song. And I went and bought drumsticks. I would beat on my pillow and shit.
Right.
And we never practiced, but we were like, all right, we got $100. Let's go record a song. But we never practiced a song.
Right.
So we get to this studio in this guy's garage, and we pay him the money, and we get an idea of how to play a song. We played the song, and we did it in 2 takes. And then we listened to it back, and they're like, hey, Russ. I'm like, what? They're like, you used to kick drum? And I'm like, I didn't feel like the song needed it. Not, And
no kick.
No kick. But I played everything else pretty good. I was fucking great. But then when that song, that cassette's somewhere. I think there's only 2 copies out there. We're called Tremor.
It's in a vault somewhere.
Yeah, it's worth a lot of money if you have a copy. So
yeah,
yeah. I last night I went and saw one of my idols. I guess not an idol, but one of my faves. I went and saw Mike Patton last night with Mr. Bungle. And that dude's 60 years old, and he's still up there growling and jumping around, and I was like, that's what I wanted to do when I was that age,
Right.
And years later I got to do it. It's pretty fun, man. Some guys gave me a shot, and
yeah,
they got stuck with me.
Who were those guys?
I don't know, but man, if they only knew.
They weren't around very long, were they?
No. So Mark, you're from this area?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Clarksville, Nashville, Hopkinsville.
Yeah. So you're some mutt of the area.
Yeah, basically.
Where were you physically born?
Well, it's kind of a confusing story, but I'll try to make it easy. Both of my folks are from Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
Okay.
So my dad went off to college. They grew up in the same neighborhood, by the way, but I don't think they ran around with each other. My dad's a little older than my mom. Dad goes off to college, comes back to Hopkinsville, and he and my mom get together and start dating, end up getting married. She gets pregnant with me. My dad gets a job in Nashville. So they're moving to Nashville, and I think they were going back and forth, like the doctor's visits and stuff in Hopkinsville. Gotcha. For whatever reason, my mom wanted to have me in Hopkinsville. I think that's where our doctor was at. She felt more comfortable there. And so I was technically born in a hospital in Hopkinsville, but we lived in Nashville. So as soon as we got out of the hospital, it was like back to Nashville.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, Hopkinsville. That's crazy. I remember when I was a kid, obviously I was born in the hospital as well, but we were watching Rescue 911. You remember that show?
I do.
And there was a scene from a hospital in San Francisco, and the doctor that was on the scene was the doctor that gave birth to me. My mom said, I don't think that guy ever aged because he looks like the same person 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was that like a live show, kind of like Cops or something?
I don't know if it was like I think it was like a live show. It was like a EMTs. And
Yeah, I vaguely remember it.
Yeah. Unsolved was it? Wait, there was America. What was it? There was Unsolved Mysteries.
Yep.
What was the one with Adam Walsh? You said.
What was that called?
That was the one because he was the one that had his son was.
Yeah, I remember
right?
when I was a kid. Like, I don't remember if it happened before.
It was in Florida.
Yeah, it was in Florida. Yeah, it was crazy. I would hear all these crazy stories about his.
America's Most Wanted.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Yep, he was the host.
Yeah, that was some crazy shit back in the 80s. It
was some crazy shit.
You got kids, kids getting missing all the time, falling in wells and stuff. And,
yeah.
But our parents didn't care. They're like, go outside and play. Even though that van that's been driving back and forth in and out with the blacked out windows is just circling the block.
Yeah. That was some, yeah. It was, being a kid back then was definitely different.
Yeah. When you get home, lock the door. Don't let nobody in until we get back from work.
Yeah.
Hell no. I was outside riding my BMX, starting trouble.
Oh, yeah. I was out running the neighborhood and until the sun came down, then you had to come home or whatever. But, yeah, we were out on our bikes. Yeah. Raising hell.
I saw a meme once online and say, when your parents think you're out riding your bike in the neighborhood, but you're like 7 miles away because you just like you just go into venture.
Oh gosh, I lived in this neighborhood when I was probably in first or second grade, and there was kids everywhere, dude. It was kind of like the Goonies, man. We'd get on our bikes and just go for it, dude. We'd be like neighborhoods over, like 3 or 4 neighborhoods over, getting into all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Did you ever build tree houses and shit like that?
Or
have forts in the woods?
We had forts. Definitely had some forts. Never built a tree house, but I do remember having a friend. I think maybe his dad had built like a tree house or whatever. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, when I lived on base, we had a buddy who had a tree house, and then this family was living like next to the tree house, and then they were never home. So one of our friends had ended up breaking into this house. We were like, man, probably 9 years old, 8 years old. And they took all the canned food and brought it into this tree house that we had. And we're sitting there eating fucking cold corn and shit, Thinking our clubhouse with our little fucking nudie magazines.
Oh, yeah, definitely had that going on.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be at the liquor store and somebody would be like playing a video game and then they'd look up and take a nudie magazine down and shit.
Yeah, we were... There was a pantry. You remember the pantry stores?
Yeah.
There was one like at the end of our neighborhood, and we were always in there just like stealing Little Debbie snack cakes, all kinds of crazy stuff. Lighters. Yeah. I don't know why. There'd be like a lighter display with all these like little sayings on them, like funny sayings on them and shit. We'd steal the lighters and... Gosh, we were stealing everything.
I remember I had stole a lighter one time. Well, I didn't steal a lighter. I found a lighter in a parking lot of a mall, and I had seen a kid because I was probably first or second grade, and I'd seen an older kid start a fire, and he threw a piece of plywood on it and put it out. And what I'm saying, well, I find this lighter, and I go back when I get back home. I go get one of the neighbor kids, and we go out there, we're playing. I'm starting fires and putting them out like I saw the older kid do.
Yep.
And, well, the wind came up, and this is California, so it's pretty dry.
Right.
And needless to say, that piece of plywood caught on fire. The field that I was in caught on fire. This guy is throwing a hose over his fence to give to me to put out a fire. It doesn't stretch. I'm freaking the fuck out because I'm a kid. I'm thinking of getting my ass whooped, and I end up running into my fucking house and hide under my bed, and like 10 minutes later I get a boom, boom, boom on the door. My mom answers, and I'm like, I'm scared. She's like, Russell, and I knew I was in trouble. She said, get down here, and I get down there. It's the fire chief.
Oh, shit.
He's like, son, did you start this fire? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm all scared. He goes, come with me, and he takes me to the fire truck, and he's like, if you ever do this again, you'll be put in jail for the rest of your life. You're 8 years old, whatever,
right.
9 years old. You're scared all shitless, And I don't think I was scared of that. I think I was more scared that my stepdad was about to come home, and he knew about it. And,
right.
Yeah. But needless to say, I never started a fire, even fuck with fire after that. 'Cause that fire chief did scare me. But I did look up online the other day. In this apartment complex that we lived in, everything else around it has built up. That lot where I started this fire is still empty. And this is like 40 years ago.
Damn, you put a hex on that shit.
Hell yeah. They're like, don't do that, man. That's that young man, that one little kid. And we never seen him again, But yeah, that's that backyard. We used to have like dirt jumps and stuff too for our BMX and stuff.
Yeah, we used to build jumps. We would take like some cinder blocks and put some plywood on it and launch off that shit.
Sketchy as shit.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Go flying over the handlebars, land on your face on the concrete.
Go big or go home.
Yep.
Get up, you didn't want to cry, but
you didn't want to cry in front of everybody and get blood dripping down your face. It's like, oh, yeah.
I've taken some spills, man. I thought I was, because you're a younger kid. You see the older kids do this shit, so you try it. So I used to see this older kid ride down these flights of stairs from my elementary school. So I did it a couple times. It was pretty cool. It was like three flights. You go down one little landing, go down another little landing, go down another. So I was doing it one day, and this girl was coming. I went to avoid her, but instead of like moving my handlebars, I ended up hitting the handbrake.
Mm-hmm.
And I went head over heel, split my chin open, busted my. Yeah, I was fucked up, man. I was bawling like a little fucking girl, man. Well,
yeah.
I was crying, and then I got fucking 12 stitches in my chin. That was like, that became a thing. Every summer I would get stitches in this chin. I think I've gotten stitches in my chin like 3 or 4 different times, all from doing shit on my. One was a big wheel. I didn't have the cool Knight Rider one, but I would try to do it anyway. And
oh yeah.
I did that, and I flipped and busted my chin on the curb. Yeah.
I had some gnarly big wheel wrecks.
Yeah.
I had the standard big wheels, like the red one, and it had like a little brake on it.
Yep.
Dude, I remember going down this big ass hill, and I bailed, and I landed in like there was like some loose gravel or whatever, and I literally just slid through this loose gravel, and it ripped all the skin off my arm, and I remember it took forever for that to heal up, and I was just like, I never had stitches, which is odd because I've had a lot of, I had some pretty bad wrecks on bikes and skateboards and stuff like that, but never had to get stitches for some reason.
I guess that's good.
Yeah.
You'll get them one day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I've never, but see, I've gotten stitches. I've never broke a bone.
Yeah.
You break any bones?
Not. I broke my a couple of toes before, like doing like kickboxing and stuff. When I kicked somebody in the elbow, but there was nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? It's like your toes they got to heal up or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you can't put a cast on your toe.
Right.
I mean, yeah. No, I am. So you said kickboxing. Did you do that for a while, or was that just for fun?
Yeah, I did. Well, there's been several times throughout my life where I did some martial arts. I tried it when I was a kid. It didn't last long. Like, I think I was at the YMCA or something like that, and they were having like karate classes, and literally the instructor, he like took everybody's money and just vanished. Yeah. So that was my first run in with it. And then like in high school, I did some, there's a local guy named Keith Fain. He had like a little school. I went to that, and I got bored with it real quick because it was a lot of Tai Chi and Wing Chun, with a lot of forms, and it wasn't very much combat. It wasn't very much fighting. So, as a teenager, I was like, oh, this is boring, Now I'd really be into it. Yeah. And then when I was in Nashville, I got into like mixed martial arts, MMA. I did some amateur stuff with that. And I wasn't trying to do it for a living or really, I didn't even really care about competing or anything. But I did that for several years, and that was good stuff. I learned a lot from that gym. It was Nashville Mixed Martial Arts. A guy named Ed Clay owned it, and I'm not sure who owns it now, but there was some pros in there, like UFC fighters, and I met some really cool people, and that was a good time. I learned a lot, and was able to really test myself in some different situations, but I haven't done it in several years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said UFC fighters. Would they be in town and they would just practice while they were like?
Yeah. The gym was an affiliate gym of a guy named Lloyd Irwin. He trained different people, like Brandon Vera was probably one of his big fighters. He was in the UFC for a long time, and he's been in some other organizations too. And then like Ed, the owner, Ed Clay, he would go out and coach different fighters. They would bring him in for their camps or whatever.
Was he a mixed martial artist, or is he just trains?
I think he was a coach more than I think he did try to. He did some fighting. I'm not sure about if it was professional or amateur, but then he would bring people in. You know, they would have their camps in Nashville. He would let, and then there was some local talent that made it to the UFC that came from that gym.
Really?
Yep. And so I met all kinds of people there, man. It was really cool.
Yeah. In Nashville, that wasn't Strikeforce was not Nashville. That was just something that would come to Nashville and do live
exactly.
events. Yeah.
Yep. The UFC came to Nashville several times, and Ed Clay was also instrumental in getting it legalized in Tennessee, because up until like 2008, I believe, it was illegal in most states.
Really?
So it started blowing up. So states were like, okay, we can see we can make some money off this stuff. So Ed was like, went to the legislature in Nashville and like got that shit passed to where it became legal.
I remember in the 90s, they would have people out there, like they would try to do it, but people would be picketing and boycotting and
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's like, man, yeah, it's now it's everywhere, UFC or even just MMA, mixed martial arts.
Oh yeah, it is definitely everywhere. Yeah. And like I said, honestly, I had no ambition to like try to be a fighter or anything like that. I just wanted to test myself and get in shape and learn. I was there to basically just learn, you know what I'm saying, and test myself, and definitely did that.
You learn a lot about yourself too.
Oh yeah, they throw you in a cage with another dude that's ready to take your head off. It's you gotta get in the right mindset for that.
Yeah. We used to watch. I know you keep up. I don't know if you still as much, but I remember we used to go and watch it at Spencer's house. We watched all the pay-per-views and shit.
Oh yeah,
it was pretty fun times.
Mm-hmm. And Spencer and I trained together quite a bit too.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I saw him at the old Hatebreed show last time I seen that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still looks like old Spence.
Right, old Spence.
Yeah. So you said you skateboarded and BMX, or just you just did both?
I did
just
it
for fun.
For fun. Yeah. I wasn't especially skating. I had some friends that were really good, and I was basically, I could do some basic stuff, but I was never really all that great at it. It was just more like kind of an adventure for me. Like I would like just go with my friends. It's something to do, you know what I mean? I know we were going to get in something crazy shit, especially in Clarksville. There was no skate parks back then. It was just like you got to hit the streets,
Yeah.
And somebody's going to say something to you or throw something at you, or what I mean? It was nothing like it is now, you know what I mean? There was no like parents dropping you off at the skate park, or like I go, and there's a spot in Nashville I go to quite a bit and like ride my bike or just get out in nature and hike or whatever. And there's a skate park out there, and I see all these like soccer moms and like, with their phones out, videotaping their kids, like going up and down the ramp or whatever. I'm like, dude, back in, when we started doing that stuff,
there was no parents there.
No,
you wouldn't catch.
It was like the Wild West back then. To us, skating was really cool, but to a lot of other people, it wasn't. It was like, who are these weirdos with their weird haircuts and listening to punk rock, and it was definitely an outsider thing back then.
Oh, for sure. Because with the music came to skateboarding, or even to BMXing, the attitude and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. Nowadays, you won't see a mom or you won't see a mom. Back in our day, you wouldn't have seen a mom hanging out at the old skate park.
No, and
waiting
now
for old Mark to come get done skating with his friends.
Right, and I think it's even an Olympic sport now, right?
Yeah, and it's. Now, like I was listening to Tony Hawk's podcast, and he was talking about on there where they were, it's about now it's not like you're skating out there with your friends. Now you got to watch how you do style, how you do all this and that, and it's just like it's a whole different world now. I watched part of it, and of course, I'm sure, you don't have a, when you do like X Games and Street League, you have a routine and stuff, and you kind of know the skate park set up. This here, you only get X amount of time to practice, and then they give you your run. I think last Olympics, what was it? What's his name? Nigel Houston? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Nigel.
I know you're talking about. Yeah, that guy.
Of course, everybody expected him to win last Olympics. He did not, but I guess he's doing it this year. Which the Olympics are next month, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel. Like, that's great that you could make a living doing it or whatever, but I don't know. It doesn't have the same feel to me.
I mean, because they don't have snowboarding in the Olympics.
Yeah.
They got skateboard. I mean, I figure snowboarding. Well, I guess they do have snowboarding, but not like in that, like freestyle snowboard, like like they do for the X Games or Winter X Games.
Yeah, I'd prefer. Back in the day, I would just watch skate videos of dudes ripping it up on the street, dude. They didn't have any like, a set of tricks they were gonna do. They just fucking went for it and ripped it up, And to me, that's more skating.
Yeah,
but it's whatever,
I remember watching the BMX videos. Matt Hoffman.
Yeah, Matt Hoffman was amazing.
What was his name? The Condor.
The Condor.
Yeah. Yep. I remember watching one of the Hoffman BMX ones, and he was getting pulled by a car, and then he hits that air, and he just, I guess he has one of the highest airs on the bikes. I think he's broke like every damn bone in his body, though.
Yeah, he has.
And he still rides too. I saw something recently with him doing it. I'm like, well, you can still go for it,
There's I was always a fan of this guy named Jay Miron. I don't know if you remember him. He was from Canada, but I always thought he was rad. And then there's a kid. Well, he's probably not a kid anymore. That this will segue into music.
Yeah.
Seth Kimbrough. I don't know if you know who he is. He rides for Hoffman bikes, or he did at one point in time. He's based out of Alabama, and he still rides. But he had a band in Nashville called Mortal Treason.
Yeah.
He was the singer of Mortal Treason, and he rode for Hoffman bikes and stuff.
All right, now that you said that with the band, it makes sense, because I think I remember you saying that back then too. Yeah. We played with them, I think, once or twice.
Yeah. Dude, they were hard, man. Yeah. They were like a Christian band, I think.
Yeah.
A metalcore type band.
And I think we played with them at Rocketown with one of those bands.
Yeah.
With Blood Comes Beauty or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are good. Back in those days, man, there's a lot of good shows and a lot of good stuff going on back in them days.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You've been around the music scene for a while. Since 90s, and then the 2000s, the 10s, and up till now. What was your favorite era of, like, when you think it was like the strongest era for the scene, or just local music in general, not just a scene?
I think there was a couple of eras. There was one, I don't know, mid to late 90s. I guess it kind of was for Clarksville. It was around the warehouse. Mm-hmm. Remember those Thursday nights, dude? Yeah. That would be, man, there'd be all kinds of people at those shows.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, there was like a whole network. So, you had Clarksville, Nashville, Murfreesboro. There was a really strong scene between those three cities. A lot of bands trading off shows. A lot of people coming to shows.
Yeah.
And then, from there, I would say, a few years after that scene kind of died out a little bit. The Nashville hardcore scene exploded, dude. You were there, you remember?
Yep.
It was like killer scene there too. Just so many good shows, man.
Yeah, and I took me to one of my first, like, technically hardcore shows, I guess what you'd say, and that was like it was that Poison the Well show at the IndieNet, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And Downpour from Atlanta.
That whole show was just insane. That little sweaty ass room,
Yeah.
And then started going to shows after that. But man, I think from that era, Nashville just exploded around that time. I think a lot of bands. There's a lot of bands that with a lot of our friends. I think it's kind of similar to back when you were saying like the Murfreesboro days. There's one thing about that time, and I'm gonna get back to the hardcore one, is You know, there was a lot. All the bands would be at everybody's shows and shit, hanging out. You know, or you get that last minute phone call. You know, hey, I know it's 8 o'clock on a Friday night, but this band just dropped off. Can you guys come? And
oh yeah,
living in Clarksville, you got to drive all the way to Murfreesboro.
oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yes,
but it'd be worth it. You know,
yeah,
you know. But no, the Nashville scene was pretty cool, man. I remember, you know, we've played some pretty cool shows in Nashville over the years. You know.
Yeah, I seen in that span of time, I don't remember how many years it was. We'll say 10 years maybe. I've seen so many damn shows, man.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially when I was living in Nashville, I was either booking a show, playing a show, or just attending a show.
And I think
several nights a week, every week. You know what I mean?
Well, see, that's one thing about living in Nashville too. It's living in Nashville and living in a bigger city. Obviously, you have the opportunity to go see all these shows. You know?
Yes.
And I mean, because if I lived in Nashville, I'd be trying to go to more shows too. You know, it's a lot easier than living in Clarksville and trying to go to a show every other day.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Nashville's such a hub for music. You know, it's Music City.
For sure.
I remember, you know, even when I lived there, I don't care what kind of music you were into, dude. There was a show every night, man. It might be a rockabilly show down at Roberts, or, you know, a punk show here and there, metal. There's shows everywhere.
You know, talking about shows and stuff, like, you know, when I moved here in '93, of course, and there's probably venues that I don't know about before then, but, you know, like smaller type venues, you had like 328. That was like,
yeah, that was the Mecca.
That's the word there. And I've seen so many badass shows there.
Yes,
you know, so many small bands had come through there that are fucking huge.
Yep.
You know, for instance, fucking, you know, well, I guess damn near every band, Foo Fighters, Nine Inch Nails, fucking Marilyn Manson, like, you know, Korn, you know, all these bands have gone through there that became these huge bands, and got to see them at 328. And then up the street you had, you know, was it the Music City Mix Factory?
Right, yeah, the Music City Mix Factory was there.
They had shows upstairs. There was a venue across the street on Second. No, Music City, was that on Second or First?
It was on. It wasn't on First. It could have been. I'm trying.
But there was a venue across the street. It was like a bar type place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that name of that place, but there was a lot of different venues back then. You know, like to play in.
I seen Corrosion of Conformity played at the Music City Mix Factory.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was on their. It might have been on the Deliverance album, but yeah, they came through there.
That was a cool spot. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was cool.
No,
or not,
but I was thinking ahead of myself. No, but Exit In is where I was going with that.
Yeah, there you go. Exit In's probably one of my top venues.
Do you remember when KDF would have those shows there, and they'd be like, all right, tomorrow, you know, we're going to announce who's going to be playing at Exit In, and you got to get there at, you know, you had to stand in line.
Yeah.
And it was first come, first served to get in these shows. And they, you know, I saw like Better Than Ezra there and Local H. But you just had to get there, and you had to get there and then stand in this line, and then, you know, hopefully you were able to get in, you know.
I saw Local H and Failure on Valentine's Day one time, and I went with a buddy of mine and his I don't know if it was his wife at that time or his girlfriend and another friend. It was like four of us, and somebody had some fake IDs. I didn't. I had my actual ID, so I got in with dude's wife, and then them two were trying to use fake IDs. Okay. They got booted out, so they had to literally sit across the street at the Gold Rush, wait for us to watch this whole show, because I was like, I'm not leaving, dude. I'm not missing Failure or Local H, you know. And I remember Failure came out wearing just boxer shorts, and they had like hearts all over them because it was Valentine's Day or whatever.
Were you living in Clarksville at the time?
Yeah, Clarksville, yeah.
So that show, what year would you say that show was?
Man, it was on the Fantastic Planet tour.
So around the mid-90s?
Mid-90s.
96, 97 probably?
Yep. Yeah. And I seen him previously that with Tool at 328, which was a mind-blowing show, really? Dude. I don't think you could have... I've seen so many shows at 328, but that one, you couldn't fit another person in there, dude. It was so packed, and it was
that the first time Tool played there?
Yep. It was on the Undertow tour.
Wow.
And they hadn't blown up just yet, but they were like right there on the about to break loose. You know what I mean?
So if that was the tour, then I bet you at the end of that tour, they were probably the hot new big thing at that point.
Yep. It was like Failure, Flaming Lips, and Tool.
Wow, Flaming Lips.
Yeah, they didn't really fit, but they did their thing.
It's crazy how Failure is like one of those bands that that they're not big, but they are big.
Right.
It's like, because every time they come, it sells out. They're everything's limited runs of this and that.
Yep.
And but they're a great band.
Killer
great
band, dude. Killer.
I have not seen them recently at all, so I mean, I'm sure it'd be just as good. Failure and Rage and Tool and all those bands used to run together, kind of, sort of, right? Like, was it members of? Do you remember? Did you ever hear of a band called the Replicants?
I did.
And I think it was members. I could be wrong. I think it was members of like Failure and somebody else. But I know Maynard was like on 2 songs. I think they did a Cars cover, and Just What I Needed. No, that's not the name of the song. But anyway, yeah, they. But I got to see Failure. Was it on? It was whatever tour. It was like whatever tour, the Lollapalooza. They played this. They headlined the second stage.
Right.
Or they headlined they opened up the main stage and then they headlined the second stage. It was something like that. But that was like Failure, Snoop Dogg, and whoever else was on that show.
Right. That's Lollapalooza always had like a cool mix of different types of music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Perry was, he knew it was good.
Yeah, he knew it was up.
I know they do it like once a year now in Chicago and where's the other place? Brazil, I think.
Brazil,
they do. Yeah. I know there's a docu-series coming out here shortly on the anniversary of Lollapalooza, which I'm thinking it would probably be like the 35th anniversary maybe, or because 30 years ago they were already having Lollapalooza.
Right.
I've been to a few, not a whole lot. They were fun.
Yeah, I've been to I know at least one or two. I went to one where Tool was on the second little small stage. This is before I saw him at 328. It was like Tool, and then Rage Against the Machine was on the big stage. They opened it up. Arrested Development.
Oh yeah, nice.
Alice in Chains headlined, or Primus. It was either Primus or Alice in Chains, but they were both on the main stage. Fishbone.
Wow.
Dinosaur Jr. It was a good one, dude.
Yeah. Arrested Development. That's a
Yep.
back there.
Yep. They had that song Tennessee, of course. Yeah. That was like their hit.
Sometimes you'll see those shows and you'll see these bands. You're like, I don't know these bands, whatever. And then like years later, you'll be like, damn, I did see that band, and man, I wish I would have watched them. And,
paid more attention to them. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of shows like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's one of your best shows you've seen?
Best show,
the one that sticks out to you.
Oh gosh, dude, it's like,
I know there's a lot out there.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I've seen so many, man.
You said you saw Alice in Chains.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Alice in Chains fan, and I was back then too. And they were a little bit lackluster live.
Uh-huh.
They were on this giant stage, and Lane Staley had injured himself somehow, so he was sitting down, like he was like in a chair the whole time, like his leg was broke or something. Okay. And they're not the most energetic band anyway, but
yeah, you're right. Was that Dirt era or was that okay?
Yep, Dirt.
So they were taking off at that point.
Oh yeah,
too,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, like around that time of year, how many bands were not huge, and then they all just blew the fuck up like that. 92 to like 96, like all these bands just got huge.
Yes, they did.
Of course, there's the year, what was it, 93 or 90, 92 or 93, where it was like Soundgarden, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica, Nirvana, like all these albums came out at one time. I was like, that was a good year for me. I mean, there's always a lot of good years for music, but that was one that just stands out.
I think it was 91.
Really?
Yep. I remember all those albums were in heavy rotation, dude, in my car.
Oh,
Any of my friends' car. Anytime you got one of our cars, somebody was blasting Blood Sugar Sex Magic or the Black Album or Nevermind. All those albums got constantly played.
Those albums, and then for me, another one that got wore out for me was Siamese Dreams.
Oh gosh,
that
dude.
album, man. I used to Space Boy I would wear that song out, and Mayonnaise.
Yeah, Siamese Dream is definitely, if you forced me to have like a top 5 albums, I'd have to put Siamese Dream would have to be in there.
Which would you say would be better, Siamese Dream or Infinite Sadness?
Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. That's a tough one too, because I love that album too. But I'd go ahead and I'd probably put Siamese Dream in there. Yeah.
One thing, double albums are hard to do and make it a great record. But I feel that not Siamese Dream, but Melancholy was a great record altogether. You know. I know I've mentioned this before, like Guns N' Roses, the Use Your Illusions, great, there's some good songs on both of those albums, and they could have just put all the good stuff on one and use the rest for like B-sides, but they, and nothing will ever top Appetite,
Oh no.
Of course, and then I mentioned this the other day to you. I messaged you and I was talking about how Chinese Democracy, no one ever says that's their favorite. Guns N' Roses or somebody out there. So I went back and tried to listen to it. I just, it's an interesting record. You got some industrial stuff on there. You got some Guns N' Roses stuff on there. You got some shit I don't even know what is on there. But I remember when that album came out, it was like the most anticipated record to come out, and they spent how many millions of dollars on that record, and they sold every copy of that album to Best Buy. And I know that it made it go like platinum or whatever. And I waited for a while, and I finally got it on vinyl for like $10 from there. I don't even know if I should have paid $10 for it, but it is what it is. But like I said, no, double albums are kind of hard to do sometimes.
And Appetite is flawless. I mean, it's
still
an
holds
absolutely
up.
Flawless album. I'd probably put that. I don't know about the top 5, but it'd probably be in the top 10, maybe even the top 5. I don't know. But anything after that, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
To me, it was just a different sound.
Without those, yeah.
One thing I like about Appetite, to me, it still had that raw feel to it. You know?
Dude.
But I think a lot of those bands at that time had that kind of that sound. But something about Guns N' Roses had just stuck out from everybody else. I think Rat kind of had that similar sound.
Oh yeah, Rat, dude. Out of the hair bands, Rat was probably my favorite. Excluding Guns N' Roses. I don't even know if Guns N' Roses. I mean, I know they kind of came up in the hair metal scene or whatever.
I think they were dirty. They weren't pretty boys. I mean,
they were like some street cats, and L.A. Guns. Same thing.
But when you saw pictures of Guns N' Roses, they some of them have the teased hair and shit.
Right, the early pictures, yeah.
But when they played live, did they really have that look?
I don't think Axl did.
Yeah, I think he just had the red hair down and stuff.
Had his bandana going.
Yeah.
Dude, they were. I remember. I'm sure you've seen it. MTV put out. It was like. I don't think it was at CBGB's, but. Guns N' Roses played somewhere in this is when they first came. They started kind of getting a little name going. They played somewhere in New York, I believe, and it was on MTV. It was live. I recorded it. I bet I watched that damn thing so many times, dude. They were so raw and just powerful, man.
When they got back together, 8 years ago now, maybe longer than that. It's crazy that they're still touring right now, but they played at the Troubadour. On April 1st. Everybody thought it was an April Fool's joke.
Right.
And the same thing, you had to stand in line, and you went to the old Tower Records in LA, and you had to wait in line. It was just something that was said online, and then people went there and waited. And then when they opened up, you got the tickets for Guns N' Roses, and it was like a Guns N' Roses museum, blah blah. But the Appetite was you'll never top that record.
No.
Were you into all the hair stuff, or just some of the stuff? Were you into the Poisons, or were they too glammy for you with the look and the makeup?
Yeah, I wasn't big into Poison, but I will say this right here, right now. Cry Tough first track off of Look What the Cat Dragged In is still my jam, dude. I still like. That's a great song, man. And but I think by the time Poison rolled around, I'd already discovered Metallica. I think once I discovered Metallica, it was over, dude. For all those bands, I wouldn't even like give them a listen at all. But
I believe Poison. I think Look What the Cat Dragged In, if I'm not mistaken, came out like '86, maybe.
We'll see here. I guess the first wave of hair bands back then, we didn't call them that. We called them. I don't know if you called them glam rock. I think it was just metal.
Metal. Everybody was metal.
The Crew.
Yeah.
I was all about the Crew, Rat, Dawkins, and then.
Would you say? See, that's one thing about like Dawkins for me, and Striper as well.
Striper.
Those two bands, Dawkins and Striper. It's that I don't. They didn't fit in the glam. They weren't. I didn't consider them a glam band.
They had the teased hair,
especially Dawkins.
And I think they wore some makeup, so they had the look.
But the sound.
They were going for something a little different. Yeah. They weren't really talking about girls a whole lot. And
no.
I mean, I'm sure they probably had some songs about girls, but they weren't like the Sunset Strip. They weren't really singing about that lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dawkins, they were one of my favorites for sure.
I was talking to a friend a while back, and I guess a couple weeks back, and it was for one of the podcasts, and he saw my Motley Crue Shout Out to Devil flag I have, and he was like, "Is that for real, or is that just a joke, like fake?" And I was like, "No, it's for real, man. I bought that when I lived in Germany, like in '88, or I was a kid." Wait, hold on. Russ listens to. I was like, man, I always did. But when you knew me, I was like, we skated. That wasn't something I was listening to at the time. You know, it's not like we listened to everything. And when I got older, I started listening to everything. On a rotation. But when I was a,
we're good.
I was like, when I was skating, I listened to whatever we would listen to was on the skate videos, and we're driving around, just the music we listened to. I said, but I always listen to that shit, man. He's like, man, no, heck, no, Russ didn't listen to hair, man. I was like, oh yeah, I was like, I actually came up with all that stuff at the same time. Metallica, this guy I knew just introduced me to all this music at one time. I actually was introduced to Black Flag beforehand,
right,
and punk rock and Misfits and all that stuff before I got into hair. And then like a year later, I got introduced to fucking Metallica and Anthrax and Motley Crue all at the same time.
Right.
And I mean, I love all that shit, man. I would never, everyone's like, the whole guilty pleasure thing. It's like, no, I just admit to it,
Right. Yeah, now I do. Now I could care less. But,
yeah.
But back in those days, yeah, if you were into like thrash or something like that, you didn't want people to think you listened to Poison or anything. They were like posers and stuff.
I never had the cool story where it's like, oh, my uncle was, I was at my uncle's house and he introduced me all this. Now, I did have a cool, my stepdad had a cool friend, and he sat me down every time I come over to his house, and we had to watch The Wall. And I had to watch The Song Remains the Same. Which one was it, The Who, when they shaved off the eyebrows?
That was Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd, okay.
Yep. That was The Wall.
Yeah. And then I watched, let me watch Welcome to My Nightmare by Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
And that changed me I was like, I fucking was like,
like
all about Alice Cooper, man.
Yeah.
That dude. And, Welcome to My Nightmare, that's when he was sober. That's right when he got sober,
Yeah.
I was like, man.
Kiss was my...
Shock rockers.
Yeah, the start of everything for me was Kiss, for sure.
And did you buy it because the cover looked cool, like a comic book?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't... I had a babysitter, a girl in the neighborhood that would watch me sometimes, and she was a teenager, and she had Kiss records. Oh, now, I'd already started, I won't say I was reading comic books because, comic books were more like adult themed. So, but I definitely I had comic books like Spider-Man, Batman. I was like all into that stuff. I would just use my imagination trying to see what
imagination.
I was like, what are they talking about? I'll just imagine it myself. But anyways, when I saw Kiss, dude, I was like, whoa, this is like comic books come to life. You know what I mean? And I was all about it, dude. I ended up, I don't know if she gave them to me, but I had my babysitter, I had Destroyer and Hotter Than Hell.
Oh, nice.
and I still have them actually, because it has her initials on, like on the album itself, like the little the Casablanca logo. Her initials are on there. But anyways, yeah, dude, Destroyer, and I liked Hotter Than Hell too. But as for a kid, I was young. You know, Destroyer had Shout It Out Loud, Beth, Detroit Rock City. They had like anthems that, you know what I mean, like you could sing along with and stuff. And I was just all about it, dude. All about Kiss everything. Posters, Lunchbox.
Ooh, Lunchboxes.
Comic books, you name it.
That's one of those bands that I think a lot of kids were
yeah.
You know, that's your gateway drug to rock, you know.
And you know, my mom was cool with it, but the rest of my family was just like, "What? No, you don't need to listen to this." You know,
is that because they were Satan worshipers? People thought Kiss were Satan worshipers.
Probably that, and they were just so out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you too. You know, growing up out here in this area. You know,
oh yeah, in the Bible Belt, hell yeah.
Listening to heavy metal and was probably like frowned upon by certain people. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, I'm sure it's still like that to an extent. You know, but I think it's a little more different now.
Well, you got to think Kiss, you know, they were singing about chicks. And,
oh, yeah. Young chicks.
Yeah. And then, dude, if you look on the back of Hotter Than Hell, there's some weird shit on the back of that, dude. There's like, they've done some interviews with them, and they were like, what was going on that damn album cover? And they said, I guess their management had set up like a photo shoot. And they invited a bunch of girls, and yeah, there's some crazy shit on the back of that album, dude.
Is that the one that has like, which is that has like the Chinese writing on the front?
That's Hotter Than Hell, yeah. But on the back, I don't know about on the cassette, but dude, on the vinyl, there's some weird stuff going on there, man. And so, you know, the big thing was Gene and Paul didn't drink or didn't do drugs. So the photographer, to kind of get everybody to lighten up a little bit, he brought a bunch of wine.
Okay.
So Paul got lit, and he doesn't never drink, you know. So he was lit and acting a fool. He was like rolling around on the ground and stuff. And you know, he was trying to make out with like dudes and chicks. He was wasted.
Yeah.
So, and it shows on that album cover. And you know, just being a kid looking at stuff like that, you're like, what? What is going on? And but you know, just. You got all your Kiss stuff in here, and it's like they looked like superheroes, dude.
Oh,
you
yeah.
had the Star Child, the Spaceman, the Catman, the Demon. They all had their little powers. In that movie, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, they were portrayed as like superheroes, you know?
Yeah, that was. I mean, people say it's cheesy, but it's good. You know?
Well, it is cheesy,
but it's good though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes it good.
It's a good
I mean,
cheesy.
think about a lot of the cult classic movies that we like from the 80s and shit, that they're all cheesy, but they're fucking good though, you know. And cheesy, what I mean is like the way they were, you know, they're done, you know.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I mean,
They didn't have a big budget.
no, but I mean,
The acting was kind of shady.
I remember when I first saw Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. And it's something. It has a different name in overseas, right?
In Europe, it's Attack of the Phantoms, and I think Australia even has a different name for it.
Yeah. I used to order VHS cassettes from that's Dayton right there. I'd ordered it from the PX in Germany. I would just go down this list, and I would just start ordering. I would order one or two at a time, and I saw Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, and I had no idea what it was because you didn't have a way to look at that stuff. And sometimes I would order things, and it wouldn't even be that artist. It would just be something else. I'm like, oh crap! But I ordered this, and then when I got it, I was like, oh, it's fucking Kiss, you know. So I went home and watched it. Man, I wore that damn tape out. I would watch it over and over.
Oh, yeah.
And that acting in there was so
It was
horrible.
bad. And you learned like years later that they didn't even use Peter Criss's voice. He was so horrible. They had somebody do a voiceover on him.
Who was there anybody big in that movie besides Kiss?
No. Okay. The main, I guess, the protagonist. Was somebody from Young and the Restless or Days of Our Lives or something. So I can't remember what he was on one of those type of shows.
They probably picked in. They're probably like, all right, we put this guy in here. We're gonna get all these people to watch
Right.
it, and it's like, nope. Yeah, when you know, me growing up, I had a cool cousin who listened to heavy metal and all that shit. But when I was a kid, that shit used to scare the shit out of me. But I would still be. Sure. I would go in his room and I would be like, whoa. I'd see all these fucking Metallica pictures, Iron Maiden and stuff, and I would just see all these things. But I was listening to like fucking Weird Al and LL Cool J and stuff like the New Edition. And, and
I like
Jets,
that stuff too.
You know? And or whatever came on the radio. But then when I would go to church, where I would go like to Wednesday, whatever they called it back then, and it was right across from the high school. But all the stoners and the rocker dudes would sit out right by the church smoking their cigarettes, but they'd be all in their vest jackets and shit. Man, that used to scare me to death, you know.
Yeah.
And then, but I mean, because that, you know, that was the look, and they don't look like that no more. Rock, you know, with the big hair and the, you know, that light denim jeans and shit.
Yeah.
Denim jackets with the big AC/DC patches on the back.
Oh yeah.
The logo that was like, you know, fucking like half the jacket size on the back, real big.
Yep. I had a jacket like that.
Yeah. And if you would have known, you would have kept it over all the
years. Right.
You know?
You had to cut the sleeves off of it.
Yeah. But so with all that being said, and you know, is that what got you into wanting to play music, or just being out with friends, or? No,
man, I had it like Kiss, basically. You know, I was just like, I was constantly daydreaming, like, I want to do that.
Did you sit in the mirror with like a fake guitar?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. All that good stuff. And then, you know, I liked Kiss a lot, but I also liked whatever was popular. You know, Michael Jackson. I loved Michael Jackson, Prince, Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And early hip hop, I got into that. Break dancing.
Oh yeah,
dude. The breaking soundtrack.
Did you break dance?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I was any good at it. I was, you know,
but you thought you
looked
were, though,
ridiculous. Right? Yeah. But you know, dude, I remember we were living way out in Kentucky, this little bitty town, and I had remember the boom boxes.
Yep.
You could record what was on the radio.
Yeah. You had to sit there and wait, and you're like, damn it, I missed it. You had to wait for the next time it came on.
Yep. Well, somehow I'd pick up this station. It was like a college station, and it was either I was picking up University of Kentucky or I can't remember what, the one in Bowling Green. I was picking up one of those, and they would have like a hip hop. They were calling it? I don't know if they called it hip hop then, but dude, and I would hit record, and I remember UTFO would come on.
Oh, nice, yeah.
You know,
Roxanne.
Yes, Grandmaster Flash, Fat Boys. You know, Melly Mel, Sugar Hill Gang. I would record anything I could. I was like, what is this? You know, I had no clue what.
How old were you say you were back then? So this is probably like early 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was probably in like 5th or 6th grade. I was probably in 6th grade, 6th or 7th grade. And I was recording anytime, you know, like rap or hip hop would come on, I was recording it. And then, of course, Run DMC.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Sucka MCs. All that stuff. I was all about it, dude. Beastie Boys, LL.
Mary.
Oh, yeah, dude. I was so into it. So, you know, like I said, I was just absorbing anything I could. Rock and roll, hip hop, whatever. And then also in the 80s, I know like the Crew blew up. But before that, dude, there was some big, like Quiet Riot was.
Oh, yeah.
Man, Metal Health is a huge album. I remember not just metalheads, but just anybody in general listened to Quiet Riot, Twisted Sister, Def Leppard.
Yeah, because that
Pyromania was a huge album, dude. Everybody had that.
And those were on pop radio, you know, whatever you want to call the. But see, back then there was stations for certain music, but most of the time you'd be listening to, like you said, say Twisted Sister, and then the next song would be Beastie Boys or something.
Yeah,
know?
Exactly. But I went through all that stuff and heard Motley Crue, and I was just like, whoa, this, you know. And by this time, I'm getting older, you know, getting towards my teens, and I'm just like, I want to play music. I played sports all through my childhood, you know, baseball, basketball, football, all that stuff. And but I was kind of growing towards music. I was like, I want to play music, you know. And but it was really when I heard Metallica, dude, it was over. You know, it was like, that was it.
And what was your first Metallica experience? Like, what did you hear first?
Well, I used to mow yards in the summer. so I could get. That's how I made my allowance or whatever, mowing yards, and we'd go to the mall like once a month, maybe more than that. I'd hit up the sound shop or whatever was the place that had the music, and I would just buy cassettes, dude. Usually Motley or Rad, and then every now and then I'd usually have an idea what I was going to get when I went, but every now and then I'd be like, you know what, I'm just going to browse, and I'd usually go for the they used to have a bin with like the like $2 or $3 cassettes, just like random bands. I'd find stuff in there, and then one day I was like, man, I had seen Metallica like in the back of like Circus or Metal Edge. There'd always be these ads for like Megaforce Records, Metal Blade, and I would see these Metallica dudes. And I'm like, who are they? These ugly ass, I'm like, they don't look like Motley. They don't wear spandex. They look like some Heschers that the stoner dudes at my school.
Exactly,
I was just like, I wasn't feeling it at all. And then one day, I was like, I'm gonna buy something new, and I'm going down the alphabetical where I start with the A's because that's how they had them.
Yeah.
And I got to the M's. I'm like, all right. And there was a band called Malice.
Yep.
Remember Malice? Yep. So I pull out Malice. I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep this, just possibility. And then I keep on going. I hit Metallica. I'm like, damn, there's that damn Metallica band. So I'm like, I pull out Master Puppets. I'm like, Malice, Metallica. I'm kind of weighing them back and forth. I'm like, all right, I'll go with Metallica. And then it was like, they had Ride the Lightning and Master Puppets. I'm like, all right, which one do I go with? So
you went with Ride the Lightning, didn't you?
No, I went with Master Puppets. Right. And I got home, popped it in, and it kicks off a battery, and it kind of has like this Western, like, it sounds like a Clint Eastwood movie or something. I'm like, all right, it's kind of weird, I'm thinking it sounds like two gunfighters are getting ready to shoot each other. I'm like, this is kind of weird. And then it kicks in, and it's like this wall of guitars, all these different guitars. I'm like, wow. And I'm like, what? This is crazy. And then it stops, and then James comes in by himself with that riff. And dude, I was blown the fuck away. It was literally like a life-changing experience because, like, I'd never heard something so aggressive, so fast, and just mean sounding.
Oh yeah.
And at that time, I was like just becoming a teenager, and I was going through some shit, dude. Like a lot of us do, when you're a teen, you know what I mean, trying to find your way in the world, and depression, and freaking you hate everything basically, and I was just full of anger. And Metallica, now I'm hearing the music, it's like makes me, it's like what I'm feeling inside, but it's like coming out on this tape. And I was like, oh, that's it, I gotta play guitar, dude. When I heard Metallica, it had to happen. I was like, I'm playing guitar, it's what's going on.
So Metallica made you want to play music? For
sure. Well, Kiss, I mean, like Kiss and all the AC/DC and all those bands. But Metallica was like the one that pushed it to, like, I got to play guitar, I wanted to be Hetfield, you know what I mean? And Kirk, really, because I wanted the power of Hetfield and to be able to shred like Kirk Hammett, you know what I mean? So it was like I was able to get a guitar for my birthday and start taking lessons. And
which probably didn't last long. No,
it didn't. But my guitar teacher, dude, you talking about shred, and that dude could. I pretty much was paying to watch him play guitar. You know what I mean? Like guitar, it came so natural to me. Like, no, I don't think anything's ever like, because I played sports. I was a decent athlete. I wasn't ever gonna be the star of the team.
Yeah,
I was just there basically doing my thing. And but guitar, dude. And there's nobody in my family that plays music that I know of. Yeah. None. So I don't know where it came from, but it's like when I picked up a guitar, it's just like that energy flowing through through my fingers, and it was just like, man. And the first song, he was like, I go take guitar lessons from this dude. Kenny Williams was his name. He's like, well, who's your favorite band, man? He had like the long hair, and I was like, well, this dude's fucking cool. And I was like, Metallica. And he's like, all right. He's like, all right, I'll try this. And he busts out For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Oh, nice.
He's like, see if you can do that. And, he always showed me a couple of power chords first. And dude, it was just like natural. I just started fucking ripping it up. And I took lessons probably, I know, at least a year, maybe a little bit longer. And I really got into the shredders, like Steve Vai and Paul Gilbert, Cacophony, and Marty Friedman, Jason Becker.
Oh, nice.
And they were calling it neoclassical then or whatever.
I like how you said Paul Gilbert.
Yeah, for Mr. Big.
Yeah.
And
Was he in Racer X? No.
Racer X,
yeah,
yep.
Okay.
I can't remember the other guy that was in the band with him.
Wasn't the bass player from Mr. Big in Racer X?
Was he? I don't know. No, Billy Sheenan? No.
Okay.
He was Dave Lee Roth. That's where he kind of got his...
Racer X, was that they're Canadian?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
They're a LA band.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
I don't know if they
somebody
had any vocals. I think it was just straight up two dudes just trading off, just shredding, dude. But anyways, so he had me learning like a lot of he's like, you gotta learn the classical, man. And so I'm playing the William Tell Overture on the guitar and like all this crazy. And I was just like, this is too much like school, man.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling all. And then I got away from the shredding. It was just like it was cool, but I moved more into like rhythm type guitar. You know, I wasn't really wanting to do a bunch of crazy solos or anything. So, but Metallica was definitely the what got me going. You know what I mean?
Would you? So you would say you're more of a rhythm guitar player then?
Yeah, I can do leads. Not really my thing. I can do some little like blues type leads and stuff like that. But
what was your first guitar?
Funny story. So there was a cat in my high school, and they called him Lurch.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was this big, heavy-set cat, and I didn't know any better, dude. I'm like a freshman, and he's like a senior, and he's like, "Yo, man, I got this guitar for sale, man. It's like, you like Van Halen?" I'm like, "Oh, I guess, you know." And so he's like, I went out to his car, he had it in the parking lot, and he had it was like painted red and white like Eddie Van Halen. He's like, "Yeah, dude, it's like his signature series, whatever." And I think he literally wrote in, magic marker, Fender.
Oh yeah.
So I go home, I'm like, "Mom, for my birthday, I gotta get this guitar, man. This dude's gonna sell it to me." And she gave me the money for it. And I remember I didn't know a lot about guitar then, but I knew what a piece of shit it was. And I remember I picked it up and I was just like, damn. So I took it home, and my stepbrother, he played a little bit of guitar. He was older, and he came by to visit or whatever. He's like, "Man, I heard you got a guitar. Let me check it out." I'm like, "It's a Fender, dude." And he was just like, "Dude, it's a piece of shit." He was like, "What the?" He's like, "Nah, man, you got ripped off." And he ended up giving me like a crate amp, a practice amp.
Yeah.
So then I met another dude that had he was selling a Harmony Flying V. I still have it. Looked just like Hetfield's Gibson. So I talked Mom, and I was like, "This is a better guitar, Mom." And
Is it what you're talking about, the Hetfield, the black one, or
the white one? Yeah, his white one that he always played.
Yeah.
And I got that, which back then Harmony was kind of like a Sears Roebuck type guitar. It wasn't nothing crazy or anything, but it was a good starter guitar. Like I said, I still have it, and that's where I kind of cut my chop. I did my, started learning on that.
You say you still have it. It's crazy how what we keep and what we don't keep.
Yeah. Somehow I've been through a few guitars over the years, and that one and I don't play it or anything. It just
it's like it's memories.
Yeah. But it's survived all the years. Yeah. And now, dude, it's actually Harmonies are worse because they're Japanese made.
Gotcha.
So that same guitar, dude, probably goes for a little bit of money.
Yeah. Do you have it out, or is it in a case?
No, I have it out. Recently, I don't know if you were with me. I took it down to Dennis, and
no, but
he did some modifications on it. And
did you play it?
Yeah, I still play it.
Yeah.
It's it needs some work. It needs some probably needs the pickups replaced and rewired and everything.
I mean, how old are those pickups?
Yeah, for sure. And they're probably not the greatest pickups in the world either.
I remember I wanted a bass because I saw Nikki Sixx. I was like, "Oh, fucking Nikki Sixx is cool,"
Yeah.
So I had my mom get me a bass, and it was either Sears Roebuck or J.C. Penney's, one of those two. And I didn't have an amp though, but she got me this fucking bass, whatever. And I was like, "Oh fuck yeah!" It was white, man. It was fucking dope as shit. But I didn't have an amp, and I was like playing it, and then I happened to hit the wall, and I heard the boom. I was like, "Oh, if I put this fucking head up against the fucking, I could." Yeah. Well, I was tuning because I didn't know how to fucking tune, and I guess I stripped one of the tuning pegs. So we take it down to the local music store to get it fixed, and the guy was like, ma'am, you might as well just take this back to where you got it. It's going to cost you more money to fix this. Let's just get you something here. So I was like, I don't want to play bass anymore then. I want to play guitar. So I got this fucking guitar. Didn't fucking know what I was doing. It was like an Ibanez. It was turquoise. And when I moved to Clarksville, I traded it for a skateboard.
Oh yeah.
And this guitar, and I it's somewhere in Hopkins. It was in Hopkins as of 10 years ago. It did not look the same, but I knew who had it. Now I don't know who has it because he doesn't have it anymore. But yeah, I was like, I after I traded, I was like, yeah, I'll never play music ever again. Never,
right.
ever. And then it was like, 10 years, 11 years, and then I decided to play music again. But
Yeah, when I picked up the guitar, dude, it was on. It was
Yeah.
like, it's happening. You know what I mean?
I thought I was gonna be a professional skateboarder.
Yeah.
That was my goal. But things changed. I'm a professional Russ.
Yeah. That's a good
It's a
profession.
So yeah, and now you're still playing music all these years later.
All these years, yeah. I finally, like I said, I had a couple of high school bands, but back in Clarksville back then, dude, there was no way in hell some teenagers were about to go play anywhere. It just wasn't happening.
Not
So,
like now.
Our only shot was maybe playing somebody's party or something, you know what I mean? And we were playing like, crossover thrash, dude. Wasn't nobody trying to have us at their party, you know what I'm saying? Because like we were playing like DRI, and that's when I met Jason Payne also.
Was in
After I went passive aggression, never got off the ground. My friend Spinogens,
That's a cool name.
Sponge, he was jamming. He was like, dude, I'm jamming with these other cats, and we have a drummer. He was like, man, he's really good. And he was like, we could probably use a second guitarist if you want to come over. And I was like, all right. And I'd actually had at least one class with Jason, but we never really talked because Jason wasn't real talkative back then. And
Now, were you guys in the same grade?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he would always wear he'd be wearing some Metallica shirts or some Iron Maiden or something. I'm like, yeah. So you know how it was back then. If you saw somebody rocking
You saw your people.
you saw your people, you knew what was up.
Yeah.
But I didn't really talk to him. And then Spinogens was like, yeah, come to this house or whatever. So get there, bring my little amp, and I go in the garage, and there's Jason. He's on the drums. Like, okay, I know that cat, And I sit there and watch them, and they bust out some Danzig and some DRI, and I was like, damn. They can actually, I'm like, this dude can, Jason was good already good. And I was just like, wow, this dude can play, man.
This is still in high school?
Yeah, high school. And that's how, and I was like, shit, let me do my thing. So I got in there with them and learned the songs that they had already been jamming or whatever. And that band was called, that's a good question.
Was that before Power Trip?
Yeah, definitely before Power Trip. This band was called Mortal Remains or something like that. And we just couldn't really do anything because we didn't even have a vocalist. We were like, who's gonna? I think they had some chick that had been singing, coming over, and they weren't feeling it. So then we're like, okay, Spinogens was gonna try to play bass and sing, and he couldn't ever really do that. So we didn't really have a vocalist, and that band ended up. It went sideways and it didn't happen. And then eventually Power Trip, you mentioned Power Trip. That was probably my first real band that actually played out and played shows.
Was that the first band you sang for?
Yep. Now Power Trip's no relation to the Power Trip in Texas for anybody listening. Different Power Trip. Yep. We had a singer. It was a friend of ours. Dude didn't know how to sing. We thought he looked like a singer. We're like, yeah, dude looks like he looks like a singer. So we brought him in, and he busted. I was writing all the lyrics. I'm like, here's your lyrics, dude. And he started singing, and we were just happy to have a vocalist. We're like, yeah, that'll work, man. And so we went along with him for a little bit, and he wasn't feeling it. He was just like, dude, I'm not really a singer, And he had bought a bass.
Gotcha.
Just on his own, just kind of playing bass. He's like, I'd rather play the bass, man. And Chris Ellis was playing bass for us.
Okay. Yeah.
But he was more of a guitar player.
Yeah.
So we all did like Chris moved to guitar. Our friend Danny that was singing and started playing bass. Now we don't have a singer.
So you were playing guitar as well?
I was playing guitar, and I was just like, okay, well, for some reason I was like, let me try it. Okay. So I started singing, and they were all cool with it. I'm like, okay, does it sound good? Yeah, it sounds good. And, now this time, we were really into we did some covers. We did like Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, Sabbath. We did a bunch of Sabbath songs. So I'm like singing, like trying to.
Yeah. I think it sounds good too.
I'm like, oh, okay. And we'd have like our girlfriends over. We'd have like just all kinds of random people we had a jam room, and we just have like get a bunch of beer and have people over, and everybody's like, yeah, everybody's rocking. I'm like, okay, it's going good. And somebody we got to record something, so we got like a 4-track recorder, made a recording, and that's when I heard myself my first time, and I was just like, whoa, hell no. Hell to the no. And I was just like, why didn't y'all tell me I was this horrible? I was just like, gosh. And they were like, dude, it doesn't sound that bad. And I just couldn't hang. I was just like, no, this is horrible, man. But I liked it because I liked writing. I'd always written lyrics even though I was playing guitar.
Okay.
I liked being able to express myself because, it's you're getting all that stuff out basically. And I'm screaming and getting it out. And I was like, well, I was a huge fan of Helmet, Rollins Band, bunch of hardcore bands. Y'all listen to all that. So I'm like, they don't sing shit. They just talk. Basically, they're just talking or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me try that. So I went that route and kind of developed, I guess, my style, whatever that style is. Clutch, bands like Clutch, stuff like that. And I just went for it that way, and just that's how I started doing vocals.
So Power Trip was around for how long would you say?
It was short-lived, but we got some good stage experience because I want to say we played maybe 10 shows.
Really, that's it?
Yeah, that was it. And
all 10 shows at the warehouse?
No.
Okay.
Maybe 4 or 5 at the warehouse, and then we played Lucy's record shop in Nashville. So the warehouse was instrumental because my mom actually told me, she's like, hey, there's an article in the paper, this new place is opening up, and they're looking for local bands. They don't want cover bands, they want actual bands. I'm like, oh, this is it, dude, this is it. So
you made it.
I rolled down there, man, and I met the dude managing the place at the time, was a guy named Jeff Knuckles.
Yeah.
This is pre-Mike Sousa era, so Mike Sousa hadn't come in the picture. A different guy owned it. A soldier owned it, but he let this guy named Jeff Knuckles run it. So I'm giving him my spiel, I'm like, yeah, dude, let me do an all-ages show. We were still teenagers this time. Just got out of high school. And he was like, dude, I don't want a bunch of kids up in here. How am I going to sell booze if I got
for sure
all ages? He's like, nah. So I came up. I just straight up lied to him. I was just like, look, dude, I play shows all the time. I'm like, this place will be packed out, dude. Pack it out. And he was like, I was like, you'll make all kinds of money, Never played a show before. And but I had been to, during this time too, I was going to Nashville a lot. Any chance I could get, I was going to Nashville, all ages shows.
So wait, before we go any farther, so you had never played a show?
Not a legit show, like on a stage.
You just played in the basement with the friends?
Yeah, just like party style.
Okay, go ahead.
And but I was going to Nashville like every chance I could get, like watching, man, any band I could find, any show I could find. I was going to shows, and they would have all ages shows in Nashville.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I told dude, man, we do this all the time, He's like, all right, man, I tell you what, I'll give you a Sunday night. I can't give you a weekend night, 'cause that's where I got to sell my booze or whatever. So I'm like, let's do it. We didn't even have a name. And here's how Power Trip name came. So we're at my house. Okay, dude's like, what's the name of your band? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, well, how are we going to advertise? You got to have a name, I was like, okay, I'll have a name by the end of the day. So we all go to my house. Dude, we're going through CDs, magazines. Everybody's spitting out, what about this? What about that? No. Yeah. and pick up Soundgarden's Louder Than Love. They have a song called Power Trip. I'm like, Power Trip? Yeah. It's got the word power in it. You know, let's do it. So I call him back up. I'm like, yo, Jeff, name our band's Power Trip. He's like, all right. And he was like, here's the deal. You can play the show, but one of the bouncers has a band. His name was Big Jim. He's like, Big Jim's band's got to be on the show too. Lyrical Flathead was their name.
Okay.
So Power Trip, Lyrical Flathead. Dude, we go to Kinko's, make our flyers, you know, clip art style. Yep. We're clipping pictures out of magazines. Dennis Sullivan draws us a logo up, really cool logo. And we're making flyers. We're passing them out. So the show comes up, and dude, I'm nervous as hell because I didn't think anybody was going to come. First of all, I'm like, I didn't tell this dude I'm going to pack the place out. And so as it's getting closer, I'm looking out the window. There's no cars in the parking lot. I'm like, yeah, this isn't good, you know. And all of a sudden, dude, like carloads of kids. Dude, it was, for a first show, it was packed, dude. I mean, it was everything you dreamed of. Big mosh pit, all kinds of craziness going on.
Then you really get nervous.
Yeah.
Now you're like, fuck, there's all these people here.
And for some reason, I didn't have any stage fright, dude. It was just like this. I was like, this moment's been coming. I've been waiting on it. I'm going to hit the stage, you know, rip the shirt off Henry Rollins style.
Did
dude.
You really?
Yeah, for real. It's just like.
You'll never have that first experience.
Yeah, it's just like feeling that energy. Yeah. I was just like, whoa. And then of course, Jeff Knuckles is like, whoa, you just pack this place out. $5 a head, you know, there's a couple hundred kids there. And I get the, man, I wish I could pay you, dude, but we just didn't make a whole lot tonight. Shit. I'm like, hold up, bro. You know, there's at least a couple hundred people here. You know, I know you made some money. But he was like, but what I'm going to do, we're going to make this like a monthly thing, man. So then I can go to Nashville and talk to people and say, hey, I can trade you out. You get us a show here. So I started having conversations with this dude named Donnie, who he booked shows at the Lucy's Record Shop. Okay. And they had this thing called the Migraine Matinee every Sunday.
Yeah, I remember that name.
And it was either Saturday or Sunday. And they kind of got the idea off of CBGB's, their matinees.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it started like 1 o'clock and it'd be like 10 bands until like the evening. And we played a couple of those, met a bunch of different bands. Met a band called Finger Hut.
Oh, yeah.
Kids. Dude, you know, we're teenagers. These dudes are like in 8th grade. Kid named Dallas, who ended up becoming pretty, you know, Dallas went on after Finger Hut. He had a band in Nashville called Ass Chapel.
Okay.
That was pretty big. And now, I don't know if he's still in it, but he joined Pelican. I don't know if you ever heard Pelican.
Yeah.
Which are based out of Chicago. They're pretty big band.
So he's still doing it?
He's doing his thing, yeah.
Real quick, though, you said Finger Hut. I'm sure they got that name by seeing the catalog on the
They did, yeah. I still, somewhere, they had a demo, and they had a song called The Russian Man. Don't know what it's about. But, dude, they were wild, dude. That little Dallas kid was doing some crazy stuff. He had he was using a screwdriver, making all these crazy noises. He was kind of like a Tom Morello type cat. He was making, dude, they were just like, they pretty much stole the show. And anyways, I was able to network, basically. You know what I mean? I had but the big one was Buzzkill.
Yep.
Local Nashville band that was huge influence on me, dude. I had, as much as James Hetfield or Paige Hamilton from Helmet, Adam Jones from Tool, those were my huge influences. But Brooks Phillips from Buzzkill was just as huge of an influence as they were. I have to give him props because, rest in peace, by the way, too, Brooks Phillips. I was able to get Buzzkill to the warehouse. Nice. Got to play with them. Got to know those guys a little bit. Hank the Third was on drums. They were fucking getting ready to blow the hell up, dude. They were opening for like Fugazi, L7, all these bands, and unfortunately, they fell apart. But
after Buzzkill, was that when FUCT started?
FUCT was before Buzzkill. Yeah, and I didn't realize it. FUCT was huge too. Yeah. That was a big name in the scene back then. That was a little bit before I started playing. But anyways, I didn't realize that Brooks was the guitar player of FUCT until later on.
Gotcha.
And yeah, dude, they were a huge influence on me, and Jason too. Jason Payne, you know, he'll tell you the same thing. You know, Buzzkill was big influences on us.
I think I had only seen them once, but they were pretty memorable.
Yeah, three-piece band.
Yeah.
They had it. You know, there's some bands that have that it factor, and Brooks especially. He had the it factor. You know what I mean? He kind of had the Kurt Cobain thing going. They were compared to Nirvana a lot, but even though they were heavier, and quite a bit heavier than Nirvana. But
he passed from overdose.
Yeah,
okay.
He did. He overdosed,
Yeah.
and not only was he an influence musically, but he worked at this store called Village Imports. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah,
that.
I remember Village Imports. Yeah.
So back in the day, we'd get our paychecks, go to Nashville, you hit Tower Records up, Stone Mountain, Village Imports. They were all kind of in the same little area. And every time I would go in Village Imports, he'd be like, dude, I got, check this band out. And he was like, you ever heard of the Melvins? And I'm like, oh, should we check that out? Or he turned me on to Tool.
Yeah.
He's like, you ever heard of Tool? I'm like, no. Well, here, listen to this, dude. And I was like blown away. I remember he was like, you heard of Smashing Pumpkins? And I'd heard Gish before from my friend Jason Spinogens, rest in peace. He had played Gish for me. And for whatever reason, I wasn't feeling it. I was like, But then he's like, so now Brooks, a few years later, is like, you got to hear the Siamese Dream. And I was like, I don't know, man. I ain't really feeling Smashing Pumpkins. He's like, no, you don't listen to this. So, he turned me on to so much music, dude. And I wasn't like great friends with him or anything.
But, if you saw,
Yeah. We'd have conversations. And, he's just another one of those. Matter of fact, Nero Vatra's Chemical Fog is written about him.
Really?
Yeah. That's about him. And him and Rico McCage.
Rest in peace,
Rest in peace, Rico. It's just basically, they had their demons like we all do.
Yeah, for sure.
They just got the best of them. But it's basically just a song, almost like a tribute to him, I guess. Just saying, hey, the fire still burns. I'm going to keep the torch going for you. You know what I mean? You pass the torch, I'm going to keep it going. And it's sad that they're not around anymore, but
that's I didn't realize that's what that song was about. So now, that's pretty cool, man. Well, now that we've done that was Power Trip era.
That was Power Trip era.
So then, after Power Trip, is that when you started the Flood band?
Flood, yep. Yeah. And
now real quick, Power Trip was Jason Payne.
Jason Payne on drums.
Okay, and then
Chris Ellis on guitar.
Okay,
so and we had several bass, and a year or two time we went through a lot of bass players.
All right, so let me get this straight. Okay, so then those guys, so you and Chris and Payne, y'all end up starting Flood.
Yes.
Okay, and then
technically no,
okay.
Not Chris. Yet. No Chris.
Okay.
Jason and I with Mark Taylor.
Okay.
Who was in a band called Pummel.
Yep, I remember that band.
Pummel was like kind of our sister band. We were always together.
Now, do you know if they got that name from the album, that All album?
Pummel? I would almost say yes.
Yeah.
Because I do remember that was a pretty good album.
Yeah, and I think that was All's like first, or that was like their major label release. I think. Yeah. So
Pummel didn't last very long. They broke up about the same time as Power Trip, and we knew we wanted to work with Mark Taylor, and
Taylor is bass player.
Well, he was a guitar player.
Okay,
we kind of converted him over to bass against his will.
Gotcha.
So he was like, "Yeah, let's do it," and he wanted to play guitar. We didn't have a bass player, so. For writing purposes, he's like, I'll play bass. I'll play the bass. And we were like, okay, we like him better on bass. And Flood took like 3 years, maybe long enough to get off between Power Trip and Flood. We were just taking our time, writing. And we're getting to the point where we're like, okay, it's taking a long time. We got to make something happen.
Yeah.
So we had tried out all kinds of people. Like, we knew we wanted Taylor on bass, but he was like, let's try, we brought Charles to come in.
Okay.
Charles is a great bass player, but we were just kind of just telling Taylor, yeah, we're going to try some people out, and finally he was just like, screw it, I'm on bass,
Okay.
So now we got to find a guitar player. We tried out a bunch of different guitar players. Nobody's working out. And I suggest, let's bring Chris Ellis in, because Chris and I had a falling out.
Okay.
And we'd patched things up. And I think Jason and Taylor were both hesitant. They were just like, man, I remember some sketchiness back in the day.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, no, it's good now. Bring Chris in. That was kind of like the final ingredient. Now we're ready to play shows.
All right.
I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, dude, we're just going to pick up where Power Trip left off, man. Because, Power Trip got all of our shows were, to have your first shows be packed out, like every show basically. Maybe not packed out, but
it was a good crowd.
The warehouse shows
Yeah.
were packed out. Nashville shows, we got lucky and had some good crowds.
And that's also, too, the area at the warehouse was a little bit smaller
It
than
was
what
smaller,
it...
yep. And so I'm thinking, yeah, Flood's we're gonna pick up where we left off, even though 3 or 4 years have passed.
Yeah.
In that time, the warehouse changed ownership. Mike Sousa's now the owner.
All right.
He flat out, hell no, ain't gonna be no all ages shows up in here, or no heavy music. Period. He wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
So we lost that. Lucy's record shop changed ownership to the Indie Net. I can't get in there. I can't get nobody to return my calls. I can't get nobody to.
And this is all like a 3-year period.
Yeah. So we've lost our 2 spots. Our Nashville connection, our Clarksville spot's gone. So I'd been hearing that bands were playing on Fort Campbell Boulevard. There was a couple of bars out there, the Rock and Rave, different spots out there. I'm like, oh, that's where everybody's at. They're out there on the Fort Campbell Boulevard. The soldiers are going to be there. You know what I mean?
Was the Rock and Rave the Mousetrap as well?
The Mousetrap. I think it might change name a few times. So, Skullcap. I don't know if you heard of that band.
Skullcap.
Rico McCage.
Yep.
They're getting a pretty good name out that way. So I'm like, yeah, we'll go out there and play. So I line us up some gigs in Fort Campbell. I met the Freeloader guys. They were like, yeah, let's do it. And we play like 4 or 5 shows out there to absolutely nobody.
Just band members.
Just band members and other bands.
Yeah.
And I remember like looking at my other bandmates, and I'm like, dude, this ain't gonna. I gotta make something happen, or this band's gonna be done, because we weren't feeling it. I mean, I'm all about paying my dues. Like, don't get me wrong. You've been in the same situation. I've played many shows to like 5 people, 10 people.
Yeah.
But this wasn't good, because not only we're playing to actually nobody, and there's no future, nothing to look forward to. So I'm like, I gotta make something happen quick. And a couple of things happen. Lowboy comes out.
Okay.
They're drawing a crowd. You know what I mean?
Now this would be like mid 90s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mid 90s. I hear about Lowboy. I'm like, who is Lowboy? Scott Trotter. I'm like, I went to school with Scott Trotter. There's no way it's this dude's playing in a metal band. I was like, he was the furthest thing from metal back then. And they're like, nah, dude, he's got a band. And I run into Scott. He's coming out of a Kroger or something, and he's got like long hair, and I'm just like, whoa. And he's like, yeah, dude, we ought to hook up, man. Let's link up and get some shows. And I'm like, he's like, we're playing the Brary. Come down there. So we're in the Brary, across from Austin P.
Now it's a parking lot.
I go down there, and it's freaking packed, dude. People everywhere. I'm like, well, damn, they're doing what Power Trip was doing. But they had more of a college crowd.
Because it was right across the street, too.
Yeah. And they're doing covers. They're doing Marilyn Manson. They're doing Pantera. And I'm just like, okay.
So they were a cover band at that time, or they were just doing covers as well?
I think they might have mixed a couple originals in there. And I knew Charles Irwin. I knew Brian BW. He and I went to school together. I didn't know Charlie at the time, the drummer. So I'm like, okay, they got something going here. Not exactly what we're doing, but it's heavy music. This girl that I was seeing, her uncle or a family friend or something, was managing bands in Nashville, and she gave him a demo of ours. He wants to manage Flood, and he's opening a venue.
All right.
So I go, Sonny Clark.
I remember. Yep.
Okay. He's opening the 8th Day. At the time, he was managing Shun, I think, Submethod or 12 Volt Negative Earth, one of those bands. We thought he was kind of sketchy. I didn't want him to manage us, but I definitely want that connect with the 8th Day. And so get in with him. So now we got things are open, the doors are opening
again,
up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think Mike Souza realized, okay, this Lowboy band they're pulling some people. Got to get them into the warehouse. So they get the door open at the warehouse, bring Flood with them. Now we got a spot, you know what I mean? And it
back in the warehouse again.
Back in the warehouse. But there was also others. Dude, we played, it was somewhere downtown across from the Roxy. It was upstairs. It was an upstairs of some building. And we played a couple of shows up there with Lowboy. And dude, I mean, there were so many people there. And a couple of random spots like that. But the warehouse became like the headquarters. Yeah, you know what I mean? So now we're making moves, and it's like we're playing Nashville all the time, the 8th Day, or we actually played 328 a couple of times. And Flood, we had several people, especially in Nashville, want to manage us.
Yeah, for sure.
Like these old cats that had managed bands back in the 80s. And I'm just like, what can you possibly do for us? You don't have any,
connection. Not connect, but pull.
No pull anymore. But they would get us on shows. Yeah, I can get you at the 328, and so we got to play this venue that, I'd seen all my favorite bands play at. So we're starting to now we're branching out into Murfreesboro, you know what I mean? We're meeting bands. I got to go back a little bit.
You're good.
We meet Lower Unit. We meet Lower Unit at the Indie Net. And then we kick it off with them, and they were like, "Dude, we gotta get you guys at the Burrow Bar and Grill. We play there and we pack it out." Okay, so and they weren't lying, dude. Yeah. We went to the Burrow with them, and dude, they put on a show, man. They had the crowd. They had they weren't even from Murfreesboro. They were a Nashville band, and for some reason they had like a following in Murfreesboro, and they would get on the MTSU radio, the local radio station. And they would do interviews, and they would shout out Flood on there or whatever. Nice. So they got us. And then now we're in Murfreesboro, and I'm meeting Without. I'm meeting Element 8 and all these bands. And they got a scene going there, dude. A braid. So now all of a sudden, we got a little scene in Clarksville. Mm-hmm. Nashville always has a scene. And now we got Murfreesboro. So we got, now we're making things happen.
Well, you were taking it back to Lower Unit, and I think the first time I remember seeing you guys, actually knowing who you guys were, because I had seen you at the Rock and Rave before with this other local band. I can't think of their name now. I've mentioned them to you before, but it's the guitar player from Symptoms of the Universe. His band he used to be in here in Clarksville. Anywho, but I saw you guys play with Lower Unit because a friend of mine, Rob, said, "Hey, I'm going to be going out here working with these guys, Flood, doing like design something for them, whatever." And it was a show at Hastings, and Lower Unit played there. It was you guys, it was Flood, Lower Unit, and a band from out of state. Lead singer had that era everybody had dreadlocks.
Lifehold.
Yep, that's who it was.
Yeah, they were a really good band.
And that's the first time I'd seen you guys. But Lower Unit was really interesting because they were like, to me, that was like the first like band I ever seen live. That was kind of like what you would consider a rap rock or new metal type band. Mm-hmm. But they threw it the fuck down, man. Always, dude. Yeah. Always. So you guys, you get involved with all them, and how long does that Flood go for? So real quick, with the Flood thing, so you got members of Power Trip.
Yep.
And then 3 of those members are now in Flood.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you said Chris Ellis.
Chris Ellis came in and played with us for a while, and things started kind of going sideways with him. I think he just wasn't feeling it. I'm not really sure what was going on, but
Maybe not so much his style of music or something.
I think it was just, he liked all the music.
Okay.
I think it was just, it wasn't for him. I think, he had a serious girlfriend. I think they were planning on getting married. And at this point in time, dude, Flood's playing every weekend, dude, somewhere. Yeah. We were like, I'm not going to say we were the first band. First band I can think of around here that we were like hitting the road, dog. We're like getting the van and we're playing St. Louis, we're playing Louisville, we're playing, Memphis, Atlanta, wherever we can get in on.
And now this is with that lineup with you,
with that lineup,
Chris and Mark. And,
yeah.
Okay.
So we got a lot of shows booked, and Chris was like, I got a bail, dude. I'm not feeling it. He's like, I'll finish these shows. I'm like, all right, cool. So we had a weekend thing going. We were playing Murfreesboro like a Friday night, Nashville a Saturday night, and then somewhere else a Sunday night. He showed up to Murfreesboro, did the Murfreesboro show, and then no showed us on Nashville.
Oh fuck!
And it was with a big band too. It was either Crowbar or All That War and Buried Alive. One of those two shows.
Was it at
the Eighth Day?
Now you play with Hatebreed at Eighth Day, right? Or no?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, we can't miss this show. And they were just like, well, we can't play. We don't. What's we gonna do? And I was like, trust me. I was like, I can handle all the guitar, dude, all of it. So we played as a 3-piece, and it went over pretty good. So we decided to keep going with what the shows we had booked as a 3-piece. Went on as like that for a while. We recorded our next album, Tripwire. By this time, Bullet, our first album, already dropped. Okay. Now we're getting ready to record Tripwire. We do it as a 3-piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then either during the recording, we got Chase.
Okay.
Our buddy Chase. Yeah. Who, our friend T-Bone, right, from FSN, yeah. I ran into him, and he's like, hey, I heard you're looking for a guitar player. This is your guy, man. Call this dude here, Chase. Didn't know anything about him. I never met Chase. Didn't know,
Never seen it, yeah.
Never
heard him play.
Nope. And I remember calling him on the phone. I was like, what are you into, dude? And he was just like, like Fear Factory. He named Fear Factory, I think, Nothing Face, which Flood had opened for Nothing Face before.
At the Eighth Day?
No, that was somewhere. Maybe it was the Eighth Day, now I think about it. And I was like, cool, man. Come try out. So Chase joins Flood, yep. And we just keep the ship going, man.
That's crazy because I didn't realize I knew you guys then because I was watching shows and hanging out and stuff, and then I guess I never really put the two and two together when Chase came in and Chris had left. Yep.
There was a little gap in there where we were doing the 3-piece thing.
Because I remember me and you had to drive to Nashville to get your CD cover done for Tripwire.
From Rob. Our buddy Rob. Yeah. He did. He actually did our first album too, the
Bullet?
Bullet.
Oh, okay.
He did the graphics on the front, yeah.
Is it just say Flood with Bullet underneath it?
Yeah, but and there was a picture of us on the back, and he did like some kind of
negative effect.
Effect on it.
Was that a picture that was taken like in the alleyway downtown? I think.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I think our backs are to it. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't take that picture. Wendy did. Yeah.
Yeah. Girl Wendy Spinoza.
Because I remember seeing some of the outtakes. These pictures. There's pictures of you guys walking, and there's pictures of y'all turned back around. You guys looking at the camera and stuff.
I think in that picture, maybe one of us was looking back at the camera. It's been so long since I've actually looked at it, but
I don't even, you still have a copy of that?
Yep, I think so. Yeah, somebody every now and then people, I'll get random people send me pictures. Look what I found, dude. Yeah. And back to Power Trip, we had one cassette out. It was called Eat at Joe's, and every night, like Charles, I'm playing Nero Vatra with, he has a copy of it.
Really?
And just some random people will be like, dude, I got that. They call us P-Trip, like Power Trip. They call us P-Trip. I got that P-Trip demo, dude. I'm like, oh man.
I wonder what it sounds like.
I don't know. I have to. I have the reels for it, like the.
Oh wow.
The masters on reel to reel, but I have no way of converting it to anything.
Would that be analog with the reel-to-reel?
Yep.
So just Flood is going for a little bit with Chase, right?
Yep.
And but how long was that before your bass player decided to trip out?
At least a year, if not longer. Really? They were the four of us were, we got Chase in the band. And then Mark Taylor started kind of getting he had moved to Murfreesboro and was going to college. He got a serious girlfriend.
Driving back and
forth was a pain in the ass, I'm sure. I don't know how he did it, but he was kind of getting, you can always kind of tell when people are starting to check out a little bit. And then he told us too, he's like, look, we got a bunch of shows booked. I'll finish out this run of shows, then I got to bail. All right, so I happened to be at the warehouse one night, and Rico McCage, he was local Clarksville legend. I would run into him he would come see Flood play sometimes at the warehouse. And one night he was like, man, if y'all ever need somebody to fill in on guitar, bass, he could play pretty much anything. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I might take you up on that. Never thinking about it. And then I was like, now we do need somebody. So I reached out to him. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm in. Now, Rico, we know Rico.
Yeah.
We didn't know, there's things we didn't know about Rico that we found out kind of the hard way. But Rico had his demons.
Yeah.
But he was a really talented musician, man. And he came in and learned our songs, and we did a bunch of shows, and and we had to part ways with him.
Yeah.
And during this time, I'm sure we're going to segue into Taking Under, but I was really big into hardcore too, like especially like 90s style hardcore. That's predominantly what I was listening to, Hate Breed, Buried Alive, Snapcase, Vision of Disorder, Earth Crisis, All Out War, all that stuff.
So now this was towards the end of Flood that you were into that kind of stuff? Or
really?
The whole time?
Most of the time, well, I'd say maybe not the first couple of years.
Yeah.
I had listened to hardcore in high school, like the original, the OGs, Minor Threat.
And at that time, you weren't really thinking you just thought, it was just punk rock or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, as a guitar player, I was like, dude, they can't play solos. They're out of tune. And then, I go back to Jason Spinogens, rest in peace, because he turned me on to so much music, dude. He was beyond, he wasn't one track mind like I was back then. I was just like, it's got to be thrash metal. Yeah. It's got to be, He was just like, no, dude, listen to this. And he was like, it's not about technicality. It's about their attitudes, about their passion. And once I looked at it like that, I was like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was listening to a lot of hardcore in the 90s, and I'd go to shows. I was traveling to see all these bands because they weren't coming around here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would always rocking a damn Hate Breed shirt or a Snapcase shirt or something, and I would run into people at shows. They'd be like, "Oh, you like that kind of music?" And dude, you ought to do a hardcore band. And I was just like, I don't know anybody that play. None of I had a handful of friends that were into hardcore, but none of them played music. You know what I mean? So I was like, who am I going to play with? And there wasn't even a scene that you could do a hardcore band back then. I don't think. Where were I don't know anybody that's playing hardcore.
In the 90s, late 90s?
No.
So, but apparently there was in Nashville. I don't
know.
Yeah.
And
so is that that's what you wanted Flood to be?
No, I was cool with Flood kind of staying what it was, but I knew.
What would you consider Flood's style of music?
Well, when we started, I wanted to do like Helmet meets Tool meets Clutch. That was kind of the Quicksand was Quicksand was a huge influence on us. Kind of that style of music. And then, nu metal blew up, which we didn't want to play new metal. Like, I liked some of that stuff. Like when Korn dropped, that was...
I mean, I think everybody fucked with that album.
Yeah, it was so different. So heavy, dude.
It was heavy, yeah.
But I didn't want to play it. And, somebody always had something like, dude, you guys are good, but, you know, it was always like, you know, you don't sing, you just yell or whatever. And like, you need to rap or get a DJ in the band. You know, it was like, that
was that area. Yeah.
Somebody was always throwing ideas and we're like, no, dude, we don't fuck with that. We're doing our own thing. But anyways, back to the hardcore thing. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'd love to do a hardcore band, but I don't know anybody that's really into it. And I was getting really bored with Flood. I was feeling like it was kind of reaching its peak. I didn't know what else to really do with it. So I was like, maybe I'll convert these dudes over into some hardcore, you know. But the thing was, I think Chase and Jason liked Hatebreed. They liked Throwdown,
Earth
Crisis. So they knew enough about it.
Yeah.
And then we got you in the band. So we're getting to that portion of the journey where Russ comes in, and that was actually because we didn't want to play with Rico. Rico was kind of a fill-in, a gap. He filled in a gap. But
there was issues there, right?
With Rico?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Was there the situation was he sold his gear, right? Is that then does that kind of put the pieces together?
Well, once Flood ended, like we knew we were done with Flood and we were going to start taking Under up. Rico we'd kind of cut.
But he was in the band because there was quote unquote a conversion show or some shit. Where you like that was the last time you were Flood.
Yep. And
now did Rico ever play as Taken Under?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have to think about that one. However, I know it's confusing to people. They're like, okay, is it Flood with a different name?
And they still say that.
Yeah, and it was like, so we didn't make it easy for, it wasn't an easy transition.
There was no stop. It was just, Flood, and then next weekend it's fucking Taken Under.
Yeah. So it took a while to really separate the two. And I think that first Taken Under album, Bloodshed, to me was still kind of that, is it Flood, is it Taken Under?
And that, because that stuff was some of that stuff was kind of written as Flood, right?
Flood, correct. So it was definitely a confusing transition there. And even going into the second one, Strength and Honor, which was the first one with you on it.
Correct.
Even though your picture's on Bloodshed, Rico had actually recorded the bass before we parted ways with him. So even on Strength and Honor, I remember when we were writing songs for it, I was thinking, man, it's still kind of got that Taken Under, that Flood. It's still kind of, the waters were still kind of muddy. And I remember thinking, we got to have some kind of hardcore, like something that really separates us. And I remember that's when I came up with Thick as Blood. I was like, we need a song that's just straight up hardcore song.
That was Taken Under's Another Brick in the Wall.
Yeah. So I remember distinctly, I grabbed the guitar and I was like, all right, I wrote the riff. And I don't remember who it was. It Dito was over there.
Dito and some other kid. I can't think of his name right now, but he was playing Jason's kid on drums.
Yeah, he was like, I was playing the guitar, and dude came in the room and was like, because Jason was outside taking a smoke break. Everybody was outside
because Chase at this current time, Chase was actually hemmed up for a second because he had he was either working or is that when he had the blood clot or something around
in his leg. Yeah. So I was writing a lot of guitar. I was like, we need and I came up with that riff, and then I was like, okay, this is it. That was the song right there. I think that was the one that kind of really separated. That's the one that, to me, anyways, that was the song that,
because it was a short, sweet, to the point song. It was heavy. It was hard. It had just some good chugs.
Yep.
But see, I also think Spirit of Vengeance kind of had some elements to it.
Yep.
But to me, it's a heavy song, but it was kind of like, and this is on Strength and Honor. It kind of had its heavy part, but it also had like some melodic type pieces to it too. It was, I think that was one of the longest Taken Under songs, if I'm not mistaken. I think it ranked in at like 5 minutes and some change.
Yep. And The Only Truth, which is the last song on there, that was a good, but it was long as hell too.
The fucked up thing about that album is it was recorded, and then some reason it never really saw the light of day until later. I don't understand what happened.
Well, Chase and Jason departed right after.
That's what it was.
I don't even know if we played any shows for that album. They were, or Jason was over it after a while. He was ready to do the family thing. He just got married. He was ready to start a family, so he was, he exited.
And Chase was just with work and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think nothing against Chase.
No.
But I think for me, I was ready to kind of move on too from him. I feel like we really needed to separate from Flood and bring it, I didn't know what was going to happen after that, really, to be honest. I remember me and you at your apartment. It was just kind of like,
what the fuck are we going to do?
What are we going to do? Is it over? Is Taking Under over? And then, bringing Casey into the fold would really.
It was like a 4 or 5 month. I think actually longer than that we had, but we had talked about it. And did we have Casey in the band, or did we have Henderson in the band beforehand?
Casey first. Casey. I had been. Casey was in a band called Without that we were good friends with back in the Flood days. When I moved to Nashville, early 2000, Casey and I had wrote some stuff together. We were in a very short-lived band together, and we were just, we were real tight. And Casey had always, he was down with the same type of music. So I reached out to him. He was like, we're going to try to keep Taking Under going. You want to play guitar? Hell yeah, he was in. Then it was to find a drummer. Remember, that was a struggle.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
It was a real struggle to find a drummer.
I don't remember how we got Henderson.
I
think maybe I was talking to him on AIM or something.
I remember I'd actually known Henderson since the high school days.
Well, and we also played shows too with them.
He was in a band called
Death to the Signals.
Death to the Signals with
then
Pete.
Before that, he was in
Mass Hatred. So I knew. Because I knew him back in high school, but I didn't know him as a musician by no means. And I remember his other bands, but I didn't know a whole lot about him, or don't remember a lot about him. And then you had mentioned that he was going to try out.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. And I remember Casey and I drove down from Nashville, and we were sitting in your driveway, and he was already in there jamming.
Yeah.
He was just like mowing down the drums, and we were just like, what?
Yeah, because I think I gave him those 4 songs off of Strength and Honor.
Yeah. He was just like doing his thing, and then that was one of those, lightning in a bottle type situations where everything just happened so quick, and it was just so on point when everybody got in there, and I was just like, wow, this, nothing against the other 2 Taking Under albums. They were good, and they're on right too. There's some good stuff on that too, but I was just like, wow, this is just a whole another dimension where you just entered,
and it's nothing will ever be against, Jason or Chase, because, those are good times, but the change there was definitely a change from that era to this new era.
Correct.
With Casey and you and me and Henderson. And when Casey was in the band, when Casey was on guitar, you didn't play guitar anymore, right?
No. I didn't play guitar.
You didn't play guitar in Flood. I wrote. All, right?
Behind the scenes, I would write.
But Flood, you played guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I played guitar in Flood and sing. And then in all, every band I've been in, Power Trip, I just did vocals, but I wrote a lot of the guitar stuff. So I would always kind of be in the back. I would help write.
Yeah.
But then in Taking Under, with that version, it just, songs came out so fast. I didn't have to write anything. Shit, Casey was dropping riffs left and right. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, we had songs came just quick. I remember we wrote a whole set and maybe kept Thick as Blood. I think it was the only song we kept from the old stuff. And like I said, we call it Taking Under 2.0. And just the door started opening at that time too. We started.
We with the OG Taking Under, we got our foot in the door in Nashville.
Yeah.
We got what was our first show like with quote unquote the hardcore scene. Our first show was at Bury Your Dead, Suffocate Faster, Contempt, and I think that's it. And maybe one other band, but then us, and that kind of got our foot in the door. And then we started getting some opportunities to play some other shows,
Yeah.
And then of course we took a break because we switched up or whatever. Why did we take the break again with Jason and Chase?
Jason, like I said,
he was just ready to,
he needed a break.
Yeah.
I think he was going to start to do the family thing.
And then Chase was this.
Chase, we just kind of all right. And then, we're hitting all cylinders with the new version of Taking Under.
Yeah, there was no looking back. And it was a strong run, that on that Silence Your Enemies album. We did so much during that era. You know?
And then that, Casey ended up moving to Arizona. We tried to
get some youngsters in the band.
Get some youngsters in there, and it didn't
have that same feel.
Yeah, it didn't have the same feel.
And nothing against those guys either. They were.
Oh no, man!
They were good. But it just wasn't the thing.
Yeah, I had fun with those dudes too.
Oh, yeah. Even with those guys, we played some fucking amazing shows. We
did.
I think one of my favorite shows with Taken Under, besides all of them, was the Terror show in Kentucky-Ohio border. What was that? Covington, Kentucky? Was that in Covington or was that in Cincinnati, the Terror show?
Terror?
Yeah. Was that in Covington or is that actual Cincinnati?
Cincinnati. That was with Casey, though, on guitar.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that was at a VFW hall.
It was Suffocate Faster, them.
Terror, Ringworm. And another band opened up.
That was fun. But I think that's my favorite Taken Under show of all time. Just because it's Terror.
Dude, that show was so much fun.
Yeah.
That was definitely...
there's a lot of good shows.
I'd put that up pretty high up there, too.
And then the Mosh and Roll, was it Mosh is Not Dead or Mosh and Roll? What was that with the Unbroken Wings?
Emir.
That was a fucking huge show.
That was a huge one.
And then Scars of Tomorrow, that was a fucking huge show.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I don't remember who all was on that.
No, I just remember Scars of Tomorrow. The only reason I remember that show is because I was leaving that night to go to St. Louis to go work for like a month with my job. But yeah, we can fade away with the Taken Under for now. You know what? I realized I never even introduced you. Everybody, this has been Mark. Because we're gonna have to do another 2.0 part two because now we'll talk about some Taken Under and we'll get into Neo Vatra. But real quick, Neo Vatra is your new band.
Yes.
You got members of Lowboy in the band. Correct. And you got members of Power Trip. You got members of in the band with Jason, and then you got Mark Trailer from a local band called Modern Primate.
Correct.
And you guys are just rocking and rolling. You guys just played last week, and it's fucking epic.
Yeah, that was a really good show. I really like playing the Revel House. Shout out to them.
Shout out to Don.
Yeah, dude. Nero Vatra. I kind of, to wrap up Taken Under for now, I know we could go the whole podcast on Taken Under.
That could be another one.
But, Taken Under took a pretty long hiatus, and then we came back, did a couple of Arenian show with the West Memphis 3 show, and then we did like a show with the Ringworm.
And we were just going to do that for fun.
Correct. And Cancer, we played the Ringworm and Cancer Bats. And anyways, we put out the Harbinger album, and during that time period, a lot of stuff had changed. I felt like we were having to start from scratch, really.
Yeah.
We had lost a lot of the venues we'd played at. A lot of the bands we played with broke up. A lot of the promoters were gone. Yeah. So we were literally started Taking Under over again. And
nothing against it, but we were playing we were obviously playing the Warehouse often as that Taken Under. I think we had a Nashville show.
And me personally, I can't speak for anybody else in the band. I was over hardcore music. As a musician, I really kind of fell back in love with playing guitar again over the years. And it didn't do anything for me music-wise. Like, as a musician, I didn't feel like I was getting anything out of it. And Take It Under will always be a hardcore band. That's what it was designed for.
Yeah.
That's what it's always was going to be. I didn't want to try to drag it into something else and be like, oh, now Take It Under's a stoner rock band or something. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever.
Well, I say this often. I think we even said it because when me and you had talked about doing this with Take It Under, I think what I said was, I think it's tired of beating a dead horse. There's no need to. We might as well just go out on top, and not really on top, but go out, went down instead of just keep going and going. And that's what we did.
But even I knew personally I was winding down from Take It Under, but I really wanted. I wanted to play something different, so I was starting to kind of write on my own what would become Nero Vatra. I was kind of putting the pieces together in my head. What was going to be my next phase after Take It Under?
Well, there is something there was something before Taken Under. Before Harbinger Taken Under, there was Final Sleep, but we can, like I said,
there was a final.
Yeah, we can
Sleep.
And that was short lived, right?
Very short lived.
It was you, Payne,
Jason Payne, which
Pookie.
Jamal
and
Pookie Casanova. Chase was in it.
So basically, it was just you swapped out me for
for Jamal.
Pookie. Yeah.
And played different music.
Yeah, and Jamal. I mean, he was great at he was a good bass player.
Yeah, and Final Sleep was kind of short lived.
Now there's the Final Sleep song that is a Neo Vatra song.
Yeah, we use that.
Chemical Fog,
and Earth Mover.
Which one?
Chemical Fog and Earth Mover was written, 12 years ago, back in the Final Sleep days. Different songs. Some of the riffs are the same, different lyrics, different vocals, all that stuff. But whenever Nero Vatra got going, when it was just myself, I reached out to Jason Payne because he's my go-to.
That's your Lars.
Whenever I got some idea for a new band, I always reach out to Jason first. What do you think about this? And luckily for me, he always game. He's like, yeah, let's do it. So, and then we brought Charles in the fold, and we didn't have I haven't written a whole lot of songs, so we were like, okay, let's jam on some Final Sleep stuff. And Charles was like, yeah, I like this shit. He was digging it. And then when Mark Traylor came in the band, he really liked him too. So they was like, well, just keep him in the set because they're good songs. We kind of made them our own though. Everybody added their own piece to it.
I mean, they sound different. It's like you finally got all the pieces together to work. The people to make those songs a little bit.
Yeah.
Was the original idea for Neo Vatra to be a 3-piece, or did you always want another guitarist?
That's a good question. I wasn't real sure. Excuse me. I was gonna. I kind of had the idea for a 3-piece at first because I was thinking of bands like Sleep and High on Fire and different bands like that. And but Jason and Charles were really pushing for let's get the other guitar player in there because you can do you got 2 guitar players, you can do a lot more.
Yeah.
And but once we, Charles came in with music too that he had written, and that's what I didn't know about Charles. He's not a bad guitar player. He was bringing stuff that he wrote in, so we had all we wrote like 12 songs really fast. Maybe some weren't complete, but they were a lot. And then
you still have those ideas.
Some of them, yeah. And then it was like, okay, we got to bring another guitar player in, and I don't remember how we linked up with Traylor. I think somehow Charles
and he goes and Mark goes back to
didn't know that at first. So Joe Flowers, our friend Joe, reaches out to Charles like, hey, check this cat out, Mark Traylor. So in my head I'm going, damn, I was in a band with a Mark Taylor for years. Now I'm in a band with, you know, Mark Trailer. But anyways, we bring Trailer in, and he does his thing, and I'm still kind of feeling it out. I'm like, okay, I'm not, you know. What was weird was then the pandemic, you know, Trailer hadn't been in the band real long, and the pandemic hits. Now we're sidelined.
Yeah.
And, but Trailer, I think he started doing the primate stuff during that time. And when we came back together at Nero Vatra, we were able to start jamming again. I don't know, Trailer had like a whole different, like he just opened up. You know what I'm saying? It was like he started like.
Do you think it had to do with him doing the primate thing on the side there? That kind of opened him up a little bit?
I'm pretty sure like that's, you know, he was able to get things out.
Because they had started playing shows before you guys, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. I think he was able to like kind of get some things out through that and open him up to come in, you know, into Nero Vatra and like.
Once you get that feeling, like, you know, yeah, he was a frontman. He's a frontman of Modern Primate, but to get that, okay, I'm comfortable up here now.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with these guys.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Because you guys really didn't know each other.
No.
Yeah.
We've, you know, known Charles for a long time. Didn't know Trailer. I mean, once he told me, hey, I was in a band called Relic, I was like, okay. You know, when I hear somebody tell me their band name, my mind goes through flyers. I go through all these flyers. I'm like, okay,
same.
Relic. Okay, I know I've seen their name on a flyer somewhere. So, you know, his band had played with Flood before. And then, but I didn't really know a whole lot about him, you know. I'm like, all right. What's this dude got? You know, what can he do? And like I said, I think it took him a while to to really show his personality and show what he brings to the table.
I think with him, he also too, you know, he's a singer, so he's actually able, you know, because Charles doesn't do backing vocals.
No.
And then you got Trailer, who does do backing vocals, but also I've noticed he does a little more extra, like he does, you know, he helps you out, you know, which is good, you know,
for sure.
It fits. And he has a different style of vocals too.
Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, we've written a lot of new stuff too that we're kind of developing and putting together. And once it gets a little more solid, he'll, you know, put more vocals in for him too. You know.
No, you know, obviously you write the lyrics still, so they'll be like,
right.
These are your parts to do here or whatnot.
I mean,
unless it's something that would fit.
That's my thing, and I know it probably comes across as the wrong way, but you know, I'm very peculiar about lyrics and stuff like that. You know, I think I've never really been in a band that had two vocalists or another person that wrote, but to me, you know, if the song is about a certain subject,
especially deep to you or close to you,
which hopefully they all are, and then somebody else is going to add to it. But maybe they're talking about something totally different. Yeah. How does that work? You know what I mean? It's like,
but also too, you think about it. You know, how the song that you write, and what it means to you might mean something.
That is true. You know, that's true. I always, especially when it comes to lyrics, to me, it's like art. Period. It's like it's up to whoever's listening to
correct,
it. You take what you want from it. I never want to say that this song's just about this. It's like, I kind of like to leave it up in the air. It's
like a painting. You know, you look at a painting, everybody sees a painting differently. And I heard something recently on a podcast, and someone was like, you know, once you take your song that you wrote and you release it out to the world, it's no longer your song anymore. It's yours. It's theirs because they're going to be interpreted differently than what you did.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have a song you've heard 1,000 times and you thought it was about something, and then you see an interview with that band and they say, oh, this song's about this, and you're like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Holy shit. This whole time I thought it was about this, you know? And it's like, you know, I try to write, you know, there are some songs that are direct. They're about a certain subject, but I also like kind of be abstract and just let the listener, you figure out what do you take from it, you know?
Now, do you have things that, you know, that you want to get out that wouldn't fit for this project, that you would want to do like your own acoustic or a solo project?
Yeah, and I think I've talked to you about it before in the past. I've written a lot of acoustic stuff. I hope it sees the light of day at some point.
I mean, technically nowadays you can do it,
Yeah.
Right, but it's a work though, because like we've talked about this before too. Why didn't we ever record our own stuff? But then you have to sit there and you got to listen to your own song over and over and over.
And I'm not a studio person. No. I get bored and burn out real quick in a studio. But I do want to, like I said, I got a ton of acoustic stuff I've written. Yeah. I need to put. I've written a lot of lyrics. I just got to put. I want to explore what can I do vocally. Obviously, what I do in Nero Vatra or Taken Under or any other band probably wouldn't fit as an acoustic artist. You know what I mean?
Have you tried to do do you feel like you could or do the singing like type thing, or is that something that you're like that would make you nervous to do?
To me, there's probably nothing scarier than, to me anyway,
to be a solo person.
Oh my God, I'm just like, it gives me anxiety thinking about it. Me sitting with an acoustic guitar in a spot with a bunch of people staring at me, like, oh gosh.
Would you? So maybe you just record this and just throw it up there.
Yeah,
let the world
I'm sure that's
see,
because
that seems like to be the thing to do. I mean, and then maybe one day you get a wild hair up your ass and you're like, all right, let's do it.
And that, and you got to face your fears. You know what I mean? So
I did.
Why not? Grab an acoustic, go down to the Rebel House or somewhere, and just like, let's do it, man. And and what's really the worst thing that's going to happen? People say you're horrible, you sound like shit or whatever, but whatever.
That's their opinion.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
We're talking about you're playing your first show and just getting nerves and stuff. That is a thing, but that I could, but you have 4 other people or 3 other people with you in a band that take that pressure off of you,
Oh, for sure. And I, even that first show, dude, I've never had stage fright. I don't know why. It's one of those things that, and I know people to this day that still
every show
there's
big artists that do that.
Yeah. But I don't know why. I just jump up there and do my thing.
I think they get nervous. I think that the nervous part is because they don't want to have a shitty show. And you're thinking, especially when you're playing, like for say big artists, when you're playing in front of 100,000 people and shit. I mean that to me now, I'd probably get stage fright there for a second.
Yeah.
I only had stage fright one time, and it wasn't even the first show that I played with Taken Under. It was actually my second show.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah,
at the Indie Net.
Yep.
I remember looking over at you.
I was like a fucking deer in headlights.
You were, dude. I was like, he's going down. I was like, man.
But I stuck with it. I played. I did my thing, But after that, it's nothing. And then I opened up to doing, I started singing with Guerrilla Warfare, and then that kind of, opened me up, which I never understood why I never sang more backing vocals with Taken Under for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
And there's so many songs I could have did it.
Yeah.
And I would like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it this time. And then I'd check the mic, and then the song would come up, and I'd just be like, I would just fucking play and shit. But
yeah,
I mean, but no, Nero Vatra, I really enjoy it. It's good stuff. For the people out there that don't know, what's the name mean, and who came up with the name?
Charles, our bass player, came up with the name. He has what it means.
Okay.
To me, it's an abstract name.
Okay.
When he first threw it out there, I was just like, I'm so used to having names that are, Flood, Taken Under, more, direct.
You don't have to think about it. It's just right there in front of you.
Yeah. And he was like, Nero Vatra. I'm like, well, that's cool, but I'm like, that be like a song, maybe call it a songlet. And we kind of moved on, and then other people threw some names out, and it's just like nothing was clicking. You know how it is. It's coming up with names always like,
because you guys all had to agree to it.
And then I remember at one practice, that Nero Vatra kept popping up in my head. I was like, I was like, that is kind of a cool name. I was like. So we're like, what the hell is it? What is the meaning behind it? And so Nero is the Emperor Nero. That was the Emperor of Rome when it burnt, which Rome burnt down a couple of times. But he was, and his story was he was supposedly playing his fiddle while Rome burned.
Okay.
It's like, he's playing the fiddle. The world's going to shit, and he's just playing his music. Kind of like, remember the movie Titanic when the ship's going down, the band's still playing. That was the idea. The world's going to shit, we're still playing. And then Vatra means fire, I think, in Bosnia.
So it makes kind of sense.
Yeah. To me, it's fire's kind of like rebirth. Everything burns and then it grows back up. I look at it more like a rebirth type of deal. Like I said, to me, it's abstract. It means whatever you want it to mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way that those letters work good together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like the name just looks cool.
And musically, a lot of people call it stoner metal, stoner rock, and that's cool. I listen to some of that, a lot of that stuff. But I hate putting labels on anything in this type of band. Now, you're going to be a hardcore band, you're a hardcore band. But sometimes when you say you're something, then you're expected.
You're pigeonholed.
You got boundaries now. And I wanted this band and I have no boundaries. Obviously, Sabbath, we're all big fans of Sabbath. I wanted kind of Sabbath be the base of everything. That's where we kind of start. And then we can branch out. We can throw anything in there, you know what I mean? Obviously, got some stoner type stuff in there. But it can go any different way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, whatever you guys are doing now, it works, so.
Yeah, I just, there's times at our practice when all four of us are on point that it's like, and it's happened in other bands too. A lot of bands can probably relate to this. When everybody's just in the zone.
Oh yeah.
It's like, dude, the energy is crazy, and it's like you're going to another realm almost. You know what I mean? Because you're just like,
when you're on, you're on.
Yeah, and I'm like, I think that's been my thing from every band. How do we capture that? How do you record something like that? You know what I mean? And to me, I've never been able to do that. Silence Your Enemies was like that. That was kind of like a lightning in a bottle type thing.
And recording that, we kind of recorded it kind of live,
Yeah, I mean, I remember just
it was in Dietz's garage, you know?
And I remember doing vocals and no second takes. It was like bam, bam, bam. It was like you've never been able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, because I went in, lay down scratch tracks, and Dietz is like, "No, those are good."
Yeah,
and then Jason with everything. Yeah, you're right. Everything was pretty fucking quick.
But that's always my thing. I want to capture. How do you capture that moment, like being in that zone, onto? Or
just like getting that same feel live on a record.
Yeah, for sure.
That's always been something.
Yeah,
I know that's something you've always wanted to do.
Yeah, that's for sure. And like now with the technology nowadays, I don't know. I don't know if, but it's just that's the way it is now. People don't record like that anymore, or some do. But
yeah. I mean, everyone records a little differently, I mean, I know there's a place now in Nashville, right, that does old school analog recording. I'm sure that costs a lot of money nowadays.
Costs a little bit of money.
So, wow, we've been going. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and you should make your brain think.
Okay.
All right. And this is no particular order, but give me your Mount Rushmore of vocalists.
Oh gosh. That is like if guitars, I could easily.
All right. Well, that was going to be the next one.
Okay, we'll do guitars first.
Okay.
Iommi is Tony Iommi, James Hetfield, Paige Hamilton from Helmet, and Adam Jones from Tool. All right. Those are my four top dogs.
And that's all over. And that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's my. And we talked about him before. Brooks Phillips from Buzzkill. Yeah. Those are my top influences guitar wise. Vocalist, that's a whole man, because I don't really
pull from vocalists.
Yeah, because there's so many amazing vocalists that can sing their ass, like Mike Patton. You saw him last night, and Maynard from Tool, Lane Staley, Chris Cornell, who's got a voice of a god, but they don't really influence me because I don't sing like that. I probably
would you say Hetfield?
I think I like his voice a lot. would he be on the Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd say for vocalists, and these are just my people that I like.
Yeah,
they don't necessarily influence me
Correct.
by no means.
Yeah.
Chris Cornell's got to be on there. Who else could you throw up on there? There's so many cool vocalists, you know.
Oh yeah, man. Like from
Walter Schreifels from Quicksand. I like in Rival Schools. I like his voice a lot. Chino from the Deftones.
See, and like you say Chino, and you said Mike Patton, and those two guys. I mean, there's others out there, but those two you just said. Mike Patton, but Chino's vocal range is all over the place too. He has a good vocal. It's not like Mike Patton's, but he has a good vocal range.
Yeah. And then and you're the same way. I don't even listen to heavy music a whole lot anymore, dude. We could really break it down, and Bono from U2.
Oh yeah.
Ian Ashbury from the Cult. We go all over the place with vocals.
What's the dude's name? What's his name? Chris from Coldplay. What's his name?
Oh gosh, yes, definitely him.
I mean, but it's like we said at the beginning. Some of this stuff nowadays we listen to, we didn't listen to back then. But now we're like, holy shit, that's some good shit, And there's a lot of bands out there like that I've listened to now that I wouldn't even touch back in the day, or maybe I did. I just wasn't feeling it. Like for instance, I mean. Oasis, I listened to them, but I didn't really listen to them, and now
love them.
And Coldplay and Radiohead, it's like,
Bon Scott has to be on my Rushmore. Love his vocals, dude.
How many Bon Scott albums were there?
Probably 5 or 6.
Yeah. My first AC/DC record was Fly on the Wall.
Yeah, that was Brian Johnson.
Yeah. So, all right, so Chris Cornell,
Bon Scott. And there's so many.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I got you. The guitar part. I mean, the guitarist. I mean, that's an influence for you.
Yeah, I'm going for influences on that.
There you go. What's one of your favorite movies?
I have like a rotation that you could swap anytime.
Yeah.
So I'll give you like 3 off the top
3.
of my head. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Clint Eastwood, Jaws, and those 2 right there you can rotate in and out, either one of those. And then there's a bunch of other ones.
Well, you said The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's funny you said that because you had talked about Master of Puppets starting out kind of like a kind of western-y type thing.
Yep.
And it's funny because doesn't Metallica use the intro to The Good, the Bad, the Ugly as their set opener?
I've seen my first concert ever was Metallica Justice for All tour. Yeah,
Lady Justice crumble down on the
yeah.
Yep.
I was thinking I was 14 maybe or something like that, somewhere that age. A friend of mine.
I don't care what anybody says about that album. The whole story is the whole rumor. We hear it. Yes, we know the truth now, but that was a great record.
The Cult opened up, which I'm a huge Cult fan, but they had no business on that show.
No.
They got booed mercilessly. It was like I think they may play like 4 songs, and they were just like, all right, we're out of here.
Didn't Alice in Chains open up for Metallica also and get booed or something?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Metallica comes out and just for being your first concert and you get to see your favorite band.
Was that at Municipal?
Crushed it, dude. No, Starwood.
Wow.
And dude, I remember, this big, huge mosh pit breaks out, like a circle pit. And there was like people had started fires like before Metallica came on. Like it was like some crazy tribal type thing. Like everybody was doing a circle pit around this big ass fire. And I looked over at my buddy and I was just like, let's do it. We got to get in there, dude. We were like small dudes, it was such a crazy experience.
People used to jump through those fires.
Yeah. And that was, and technically, I don't know if that was my first concert, but was Opryland around when you was here?
It was, but it closed a few years later because it closed and I never got to go.
One time, of course, I went 100 times.
Oh, yeah, because that's what y'all did for the summertime.
Yeah, they used to have like concerts and stuff. And I was there one time in Jefferson Starship.
Okay.
And they changed from
Starship.
Jefferson Airplane
okay.
to Jefferson Starship.
And then they went to
played it.
Starship, right?
Maybe, I think so, yeah. They played, and they had, at that time, they had that hit, We Built This City.
On the rock and roll.
Yeah. And I remember that. So I technically saw them, even though I don't remember nothing about it.
I thought the song was so cool because they had that DJ talking in the middle, like, you know, and at the time I didn't know that was for San Francisco. But
Yeah.
he's all like, you know, whatever, on the rush hour traffic. But
Yeah.
so technically that was your first show, but your first show was Metallica.
Yeah.
My first show was Andy Gibbs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
From the Bee Gees?
No, Barry Gibbs was from the Bee Gees. Andy Gibbs was his brother.
He had a solo thing.
Yeah. All the chicks were like, and I was probably like 5, and I didn't understand it. 'Cause all these girls were chasing this guy, and then, but no, my first concert was Living Colour.
Okay.
In Germany. It wasn't a bad.
That was a
first
good one,
concert.
yeah.
Not a bad first concert, and so yeah. Well, Mr. Slaughter, it's we got 2 hours and 30 minutes, man. We'll have to do a part 2 because we can talk for some other shit.
I mean,
We can keep going. But we gotta break it up sometime.
you could do a whole podcast on Taking Under, probably.
Yeah, we might do that one day. I might even do that with, like, maybe get me, you, Payne, and Chase in a room.
Yeah, the secrets of Taking Under.
I will say this.
All the dirt that nobody knew about.
Oh, man, we can't talk about it. Actually, there probably are some fucking stories in there somewhere. Well, Slaughter, where can everybody find you and your band?
Neurovatra, we're on, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube. Just punch in Neurovatra and you'll find us.
I'm sure there's not another one out there.
Probably not. I can say that's probably one name that you don't have to worry about, another band having it.
For sure.
Shout out to Charles for coming up with that name.
Shout out to Charles, man. About to get him on here next because he's been around.
Yep. He's been in a few bands.
I heard he was in a hair metal band. Or something like that.
I don't know if they were hair metal. I'm not sure what
Who told me about that? Somebody that we know was.
Was it a Roscoe?
Yeah, Roscoe.
Yeah, his brother Matt was in a band. And Charles, they had a band. Suede Tattoo.
Suede Tattoo. I was about to say Velvet, but Suede
Velvet.
All the shit.
Same thing.
All right, Slaughter. It's been real.
All right, homie.